Hey, this is Danny Heifetz. Please don't skip this. Please don't skip this. It's actually important. I want you to know that the Ringer Fantasy Football Show is getting its own YouTube channel. Here's why that matters. We're not going to be posting the episodes here anymore. You're watching this on the Ringer NFL YouTube channel, but we're going to start posting these episodes on the Ringer Fantasy Football Show channel. So if you want to watch our episodes going forward, go somewhere on here. There's a little icon. You can click it and you can go subscribe to the Ringer Fantasy Football Show channel. Our episodes going forward aren't going to be here. They're going to be wherever that icon is. So take a second, go click that wherever they put it. Hit subscribe, please. It's so humiliating to say subscribe to my podcast. And yet here I am saying, please subscribe to my podcast. So hit that little button, go there, hit sub, come back, watch this video. Thank you. Let's get to the show. Welcome to the Ringer Fantasy Football Show. My name is Danny Heifetz, and I'm joined by Danny Kaling and Craig Horlbeck. And today we are going over all the other young quarterbacks that we didn't hit last week. Last week we did the 2024 NFL draft class with the top 6 guys in the top 12 picks. This week, we're going to hit every other quarterback that's 25 that is worth talking about that I remembered to do, which ended up being like 6 or 7 guys. So sure. I just think some of these guys have been paid, some of these guys haven't, but I just think overall, like, it was interesting to me to just check in on quarterbacks in the first handful of years in their career, and just basically all these teams are just reloading to be like, is this our guy or not? And building around him. And it's honestly just such a huge theme entering this season. I just think we had to hit what is the status of these quarterbacks that we still don't know what they're going to become and everything with that. So full disclosure, we're recording this June 12th. I know it's coming out later, and so many things may have happened. Hopefully nothing has happened between then and now. I mean, literally things have probably happened. Hopefully nothing with these people have happened between then and now. But if we don't mention it, that's why. But overall, I don't think for our purposes, anything the next few weeks is going to change a ton. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you want to just jump into it?
Yeah, it's funny. Already looking at this list of quarterbacks, it's kind of a lot of post-type sleepers. It's a lot of like guys who came out hot, kind of have mellowed out a little bit, and now we're kind of reassessing what we think about them.
Yeah, so we can just jump in. And I'm basically looking at the 20... I futz with some of the rules. Like, we're looking at 2021 and later, but, you know, I'm not looking at Mac Jones, and I'm counting Jordan Love because he sat in the bench for 3 years.
Mac Jones?
No. So I want to jump in and start here. And again, we're just looking at quarterbacks under 25 and just like a status update and how they're doing, what's going on. What is the deal with these guys? And I want to start with CJ Stroud from the Houston Texans.
Stroud.
Good one.
Yeah, Craig, give us just a little.
Stroud. Year 3. Will he make the leap?
Honestly, yeah, that's the nutshell. I do. I think going into the draft, Stroud was just kind of viewed as a toss-up with Bryce Young. And I think, you know, DK, you had him number 1 on your board, but I don't think a ton of people were saying, obviously, Bryce Young ended up being not as good. Stroud was immediately good. But a lot of people weren't saying, I think Stroud's going to be a elite quarterback. I think the comp for Stroud was like Dak Prescott, Jared Goff. Like, it wasn't like Stroud was going to be a world killer. He was a solid number 1 pick. It wasn't like he was special. Honestly, Stroud looked special literally by week 2. Like, Stroud's rookie year, he had like 4,000 yards. He had 23 touchdowns, 5 picks. CJ Stroud had the lowest interception rate in the NFL his rookie year. Like, not among rookies. Like, he just was at the lowest. 1% of his throws were interceptions, literally better than anyone in the NFL. Was insane.
He looked like the next big superstar in the league.
He did.
You know, like a face of the league.
And then I just want to linger on the playoff thing. Stroud and the Texans won the AFC South as a rookie. Mm-hmm. And in that game, they beat the Browns. It's like 45 points on the Browns in the playoffs. Stroud became the youngest quarterback to win a playoff game, period. Still is, 22 years old. And Stroud was the first quarterback drafted top 2 to ever win a playoff game his rookie year, which was insane. And then Jay Daniels just did that too.
Which specifically against that Browns defense, which was fucking awesome that year. And he shredded them. And
it was cheating a little because it was like the Browns were uniquely bad against the Shanahan defense. But like, yeah, he destroyed them. He literally set the record for rookie touchdowns in a playoff game at halftime. Like, he destroyed them. And then in the offseason happens and he has a podcast. And, you know, it's
that's the reason.
The only thing we can confirm is podcasts just can't play football. So in a year 2, honestly, the hype was insane. And this is a conversation we had last week about Jaden Daniels, which not the same player, but similar things where the expectations for Stroud rookie year were kind of low and he blazed past them. Mm-hmm. And the expectations for Stroud last year in 2024 was so high. And ironically, I actually had to double check this. It's funny. They had the same record each year. The Texans went 10-7 and won the AFC South. Both of the last years, and they won a playoff game each of the last 2 seasons. And yet Stroud's rookie year, we're going to look back as this marvel. And then Texans last year, frankly, came way closer to making the AFC Championship game than they did the year before. The Texans really had the Chiefs on the ropes and kind of blew it. But it's funny to think how differently we perceive the 2 years. And Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator, goes from head coaching candidate to fired in 1 year. So the Texans just kind of blow up their offensive line room. They change swap everything out. But going into this year, it's like you have Nico Collins. Tank Dell's probably, his career has been derailed.
He's not going to play.
He's not going to play this year probably. But you have Christian Kirk. You have 2 receivers from Iowa State they drafted. Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins. You have Joe Mixon. They signed Nick Chubb. I don't know how much he's going to play. But overall, I just going into the season, I think the shine has kind of come off Stroud. And I think it's a huge mistake. I think that Stroud actually played pretty similarly in a weird way than he did the year before, but the offensive line was a mess. And overall, the rookie year was uglier than people think. And I think last year wasn't as bad as people remember. And I'm super in on the Texans entering this season. And I think the Texans defense is ready to win a Super Bowl. But if the offense can come to, which is a small if, you never want to just assume an offensive line comes back together, but I don't think they can play worse. And I think last year was sell the peak. This year is, I think, buy the dip on CJ Stroud, real life and in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still very confident that CJ Stroud is a good quarterback and will have a good career. I just think it is so interesting because he was clearly just not as confident. He looked shaken at times last year, and I think a lot of that had to do with just the lack of ability to protect him. He was having to move around. He was having to scramble a whole lot more. His accuracy was not as good. It felt like he was missing guys that he was hitting as a rookie year. So there was just a lot of things that kind of went wrong last year. I think where he is probably somewhere closer to what he was his rookie year. But I don't know. There's just still a lot of variables here. I don't know much about this Nick Caley guy who is now their offensive coordinator, like what type of offense they're going to run, how they're going to fix the issues that they have on the offensive line. They totally revamped their offensive line. And so there's just a lot of moving parts with CJ Stroud. So while I am definitely confident that he's a very good player and I'm confident in him as a person, I still don't know exactly what to expect from this offense going forward.
I'm just willing to put this on everyone else, and maybe my guilty sin is just shirking responsibility for quarterbacks sometimes. But I look at this and Stroud, I believe, had the highest pressure rate in the NFL, and at one point he had 52 unblocked pressures, which was the second most in the NFL at one point.
Brutal.
It was not Stroud's fault. As somebody who drafted CJ Stroud last year, I watched every goddamn snap. It was a disaster, every passing play. And it was not his fault. And he would still pull amazing plays out of his ass every single week. And you didn't see that in the stat sheet, but watching him play, he was under duress constantly every third and long. I know everyone has been talking about how bad they were in third and long. It was real. Not to mention that Nico Collins was hurt for a month last year. Tank Dell obviously missed most of the season. Stephon Diggs tore his ACL. Joe Mixon missed time. The offensive line was a mess. There was a lot going wrong for Houston last year.
I totally agree. And also sometimes pressure rates or sacks, sometimes they're actually on the quarterback, like Russell Wilson late with the Seahawks, Caleb Williams. Sometimes the quarterback holds onto the ball forever and just can't find a guy and takes a sack. And so you're like, oh, the line's bad. No, he's holding the ball on for 4 seconds. No one can block that long. That's not Stroud. The offensive line couldn't block. All the pressures are on the goddamn line. And the coordinator, again, they were uncoordinated. And then also just to Craig's point, there's a reason they just blew up the offensive line. But last year, Stroud was going in fantasy. We were a little lower on him than other people. But Stroud was being drafted last year where Joe Burrow was going to be drafted this year. It's a top 60 guy.
Yeah, that was kind of the expectation. He was going to be like a Joe Burrow type of player. Yeah.
And he finished, by the way, as the 28th quarterback.
Which is crazy.
Tough.
But this year, Stroud is the 18th quarterback in fantasy. He's behind Drake May, Jordan Love, Dak, Fields, Brock Purdy. Some of those guys have rushing upside. But I just look at Stroud and I'm like, again, it's the most obvious by the dip. Fantasy, real life, gambling, whatever you want to do. I just look at this Texans team. The defense is ready. But I guess to sum it up in one moment, the Texans should have beaten the Chiefs in the playoffs. And they made a lot of mistakes. Stroud made a couple of mistakes too. But there was a ton of issues. But the defense outplayed them. But if I could pick one thing that was representative, George Karlaftis, the first-round defensive end for the Chiefs, got 3 sacks on Stroud. And I believe on all 3, he was matched up on tight end Dalton Schultz. Defensive end on Schultz, that was the problem in a nutshell, was it was too easy for the opposing defense to just get the matchups on the defensive line that they wanted because there was not, the Texans were just, they didn't have answers. They kind of had this received wisdom from the Shanahan tree, but Bobby Slowick didn't know how to solve new problems that he hadn't seen before. And the new guy is Nick Caley, who came from Tennessee. Maybe he can't either, but I just think this is such an easy buy the dip situation, frankly, from a team that, should be favored to win the division again. So I'm all in.
Heifetz, you said
Nick Caley came from the Rams, not from Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Heifetz, you said it I think the reason Slowick was gone, well, there's a lot of reasons he was gone, but like the big one was just lack of ability to come up with answers for some of the issues that they were having. He just did not have a solution to anything. And I think the protection was a huge thing. So yeah, I mean, maybe like marginally better protection, better plan in terms of what they're doing in protections, and this could look like a totally different offense. So I'm still very excited about what Stroud can do. Also, like they invested a lot in the receiver core in the offseason, traded for Christian Kirk, drafted Jaden Higgins, drafted Jalen Noel. So they're pretty deep at receiver. You know, they have some talent. Obviously, Joe Mixon's there. Nick Chubb, if he's healthy, he's going to be good. They drafted Woody Marks, who's a good like complimentary back. I don't know. Their offense looks like it could improve quite a bit.
I think that it's more likely that Stroud is a better real life quarterback than fantasy, just because you would really need a lot out of him. Like you would need kind of like a Joe Burrow-esque season for him to like really pay off. Maybe if he's the 18th quarterback off the board, he'll play good enough to kind of finish around like 10 to 12, which might be worth it to draft him. But I don't know if the ceiling's there, just because I think this defense is very good. I don't think they're going to need to score a ton of points. There are still like a lot of like rookies in the receiving room. I think this is like Stroud's going to be a professional game manager, can be a superstar when he needs to, but I don't know if this is going to be like an incredibly high octane, like put up 40 points a game, because I just don't think the Texans are going to need to do that. However, I would pick the Texans to like come out of the AFC.
I think that's a really good point. Again, I think that's also baked into your point. It's why CJ Stroud's the 18th best quarterback. Yeah. But again, when you get to 18, you're kind of like, this is like your backup. Like, I think it's kind of like if you take Justin Fields as your starting for the upside, and then you're like, oh, I guess they need a pocket passer, and you get CJ Stroud. Like, it's really easy. I think the other thing I'll say, to your point, I agree. He's like I'm not going to say he's like Phillip Rivers, but similar to Phillip Rivers, where I don't know if Phillip Rivers is ever going to be consistently some great fantasy option, but he'll always be around. And it's can you distribute the ball enough, can make Joe Mixon and Nico Collins and these other guys good fantasy assets? The other thing the last thing I'll say about Stroud, he's 23. Cam Ward is 23. Like, he's probably, CJ Stroud will probably continue to get much better. So like, this is still the very beginning of his career. There's a chance this is the worst we've ever seen him is the last 2 years.
CJ Stroud, one of the prettiest like throwers of the football I've seen.
He's just awesome.
Like he has like effortless like whip like motion. I love it.
Imagine how good CJ Stroud will be when he stops podcasting. Like,
does he have his own podcast?
Well, I stopped seeing clips probably because they sucked. I don't know.
I wonder if he got rid of it. CJ Stroud podcast. Did he have one, or did he just appear? It
was him and Micah Parsons on Bleacher Report. Remember, I think Micah did sumo wrestling. They did a lot. They did a lot of content. So that draft.
Yeah, he just needs to stop like big brothering people at midfield after the game. That's the problem. I think he got a little big for his britches a little bit, you know?
Just a wee bit.
Keep at it, man.
He'd be out there with like Justin Herbert midfield and like grab the back of his neck and whisper something in his ear. I'm like, hey, we can't be doing that. We can't be doing that.
I forgot about that.
So Stroud is the guy, I think, from the 2023 draft that we fully believe in. And then there is Anthony Richardson, the quarterback from the Indianapolis Colts.
Slightly different career trajectory for this guy. His career, in a nutshell, I guess, is probably what we should have expected based on his amount of experience in college. He's one of the least experienced throwers of the football.
It's kind of gone exactly how it should have.
Right. Yeah. So I would say the early returns were pretty encouraging with him. I'd say he was looking pretty good in terms of his pocket awareness, his ability to move around in the pocket. His accuracy wasn't great, but I think it wasn't like as worrying as it is now. He was running a lot and he was exciting, but then also he was getting hurt. So like basically early on, I would say there were some reasons to be excited about him as a passer, but he needed to be way more careful as a runner. That was like the year one thing.
I think you saying his accuracy wasn't great is really polite.
Well, I'm talking about year one.
Sure. Okay.
He played
great. 11 quarters in year one. There wasn't a lot to see.
Sure. And that's why I think we were more excited about him going into last year. Year two, things absolutely fucking fell apart, to be clear. I'm not saying he's had a good career. His accuracy dropped. Dude, his completion rate dropped 12 points from his rookie year, 59 to 47.
That's the reverse Josh Allen.
Horrific. He was 34th out of 35 quarterbacks that were rated for QB rating, qualified for QB rating. You say
35 out of how many?
34 out of 35 in passing yards per game.
Who was worse?
I think it was the backup for the Cowboys. What's his name?
Cooper Rush.
Yeah, Cooper Rush. That
tracks. I think played against the Eagles. That tracks.
He threw 8 touchdowns, 12 picks, had 15 turnovers. And obviously that wasn't even the worst of it. It was the leadership issues that kind of started to crop up. the taking himself out of the game. Honestly, like taking himself out of the game. Honesty. I know that some people tried to like
a forgotten virtue. In
some people tried to like kind of like brush that off a little bit at the time, I think, and I wasn't really sure exactly where. The further we get away from it, the more it is the most ridiculous thing.
We had fights about that. We actually argued about that a lot.
Like you took yourself out of game. You're the starting quarterback because he was tired. I've never seen that from any quarterback ever. So that was like, and then of course he got benched right after that. So taking a step back, year one, missed a bunch of games to injuries. He had multiple injuries. Like he was injured every game he played in, basically. Mm-hmm. Year two, he was also injured, took himself out of game, was benched, was injured again later in the game. And now going into year three, he, guess what? Injured again, shoulder injury, which indefinite amount of time for that to heal. When they signed Daniel Jones, I was like, that's perfect because he's not actually going to threaten to start. I'm starting to think Daniel Jones might be the starter for the Colts this year.
I think 3 weeks ago I said on this show that like, oh, Richardson's going to start. I'm into it, dude. I think Daniel Jones is going to play week one.
It's looking grim.
So I'm shocked. So there's a lot of this that shocks me. But to your point about the health, one, that's the biggest question about Richardson. Like we don't even know if he can play yet. Like there's so much to talk about his game growing. It's not even worth talking about. Chris Ballard, the GM, said at his end of season press conference, we need to see Anthony Richardson. Like, we have no idea if he can play 17 games in a row. Like, I will literally pull it up. The exact quote is, oh, no, I lost it. Oh, he said, I lost it. Doesn't matter. The point is, he was like, I don't know if he can play 17 games in a row. We need to see Anthony on the field.
The catch-22 with him is he's best when he's running, but he needs to stop running because he needs to get better as a passer. And but because when he's running, he gets hurt. But when he's passing, he sucks at passing. So it's like, I don't know. What do you do with him?
So there's two things. So
you bench him.
Yeah, you bench him.
But you've used the fourth pick on him.
But Chris Ballard said, I regret playing him his rookie year. Yeah. John Dorsey, who has a longtime guy who's been all over the league, was told Chris Ballard, don't play him the first year. And they played him like very quickly into the season. And Chris Ballard's like, that was a mistake because he has basically a good quote of just basically there are all these things we were projecting on Anthony that we needed him to develop. But there's one quote where I'm like, I can't believe, I think if we made a mistake in the Richardson evaluation, obviously we identified the lack of experience. Like ESPN had this good stat that the only first-round quarterbacks, not top, first-round quarterbacks that had fewer pass attempts in college in the last 40 years than Anthony Richardson were Trey Lance and Michael Vick. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly what we were promised. And guess what? Richardson's not fucking Michael Vick. So that I think we knew. But the one I couldn't believe that I found this season, Stephen Holder at ESPN had a good story. And it was Billy Napier, who's the coach at Florida for Anthony Richardson. And he gave this quote in March before the draft on what does Anthony Richardson need to improve. Now, before I say that, what do coaches usually say about what does a quarterback need to improve or whatever? Like about a guy that's about to get drafted? Like, like non-answers. His college coach said, Anthony needs growing as a leader, having conviction, with his voice, speaking with clarity, to be kind of the standard bearer for the entire organization. That's what his college coach said Anthony Richardson needed to work on a month before the draft. And then we see everything that's happened to Anthony Richardson, where he's not working out with receivers all the time and like not putting in the work ethic because he's 21 and didn't really understand what needed to be done. And I guess I'm kind of just blown away in retrospect that we're surprised.
I mean, I get this is probably just a rhetorical question, but like, how does the win total move if Daniel Jones is the starter over Richardson?
Has to be up,
right? I would think
has to be up. I mean, Daniel Jones.
Even though I'm not confident in Daniel Jones, to be clear, but like he can. I feel like he has a better chance of running like a coherent offense, I guess.
Yeah.
And also, it's like the Colts are not lacking for talent at the skill positions. They just drafted Tyler Warren, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, and A.D. Mitchell are good role players. I think there's people that are still bullish on A.D. Mitchell, even though he didn't really do anything as a rookie. Just like the way that you look at he's running routes. Jonathan Taylor is one of the best pure runners in the game. They've historically had a good offensive line, though they lost a couple starters this offseason. I don't know, and good play caller and Steichen. And so,
it seems like Richardson needs to just sit for a year and maybe end up just like changing teams. But he just needs to sit for a year and like get healthy in practice and like learn from a veteran.
We're being very negative about this, and I think part of that is like he's not practicing now again, and it's like the shoulder injury.
He went to see Neil Elitrosh again. That's the best surgeon in the world.
We're feeling very negative about it because of these recent, in addition to everything else. But like now we're like, oh God, here we go again with the injuries. I'm starting to worry his career is just going to be the Trey Lance thing. So yeah, I don't know. I still want to believe because man, he's really fun when he's on, and like he's made some of the craziest throws. I remember, I think it was last year, early in the season, he made one of the craziest throws ever.
Yeah, it was week 1.
Yeah. So he's obviously very physically talented.
We were so young.
But Richardson's played 15 games. He's missed 12 games with a shoulder injury, missed 1 game with a concussion, missed 2 games for an oblique, 2 games with back spasms, also was benched because he was tired. And that
when you put it all together,
I'd be tired too with all those injuries.
I know. Yeah. But yeah, he's going to again, he had shoulder surgery 2 years ago with Neil Elitrash. He's the best surgeon in America. He's the guy who did Kobe's Achilles. Like he's the guy.
Shohei.
So yeah. Shohei Ohtani, yeah, like literally,
so it's that would indicate this is a serious thing.
2 seasons ago,
right?
So he went back.
He did Rodgers' Achilles,
yeah. So it's like the next year, at the end of this season, Chris Ballard, the GM, says Anthony Richardson's going to this offseason healthy. Now Anthony Richardson's not throwing at OTAs and is going back to Neil Elitrash, and there's like no timetable. And I'm like,
yeah.
So your shoulder is getting worse. You're 23 years old. Like I don't know.
Let's like suspend that for a second because maybe by the time this podcast plays, he's
that's a good
been
point.
Cleared to throw. What do you guys feel? How are you feeling about everything? If he gets cleared and he's like his shoulder's fine, we're going into this year as his starter. Like what are your expectations if that all kind of like stays together?
Statistically, like for fantasy or as a fan of the Colts?
Let's do both. So I think fantasy wise, if he runs a lot.
Fantasy is a lottery ticket.
He has a lot of upside, but like that's my fear is they're not going to run him a lot because they're afraid of injuries.
At this point, fantasy is a lottery ticket, and I think it requires almost delusion to think that for real life, his success this season is anything other than like a hope. It's not
sure. And like last year, I remember we had a big argument about what tier Anthony Richardson should be in, and it was like, is he in tier 1 or tier 2? And so this year he's going to be free. So it's a completely different situation. You could probably spend $5 on him and get him this year. So I guess in that regard, it's worth it. But no, I mean, he's not a starting quarterback. Like we joke about, he's fun though when he's healthy, blah, blah, blah. If you actually zoom out a little bit, like you think Anthony Richardson can win 2 playoff games on a good team? Like what are we talking about?
The real answer is the course we're currently on. And again, I'm not giving up on anyone. Again, I'll keep talking about Bryce Young. We're going to talk about next, but like, I'm not giving up on anyone. But the course we're currently on is Anthony Richardson literally is the last quarterback who enters the draft who could have transferred and stayed in NIL and just got paid and stay in college because like the NFL is not going to necessarily take shots on these like wildly inexperienced guys. They'd actually rather you go back to school.
Right.
And Richardson will just be this like pre-NIL cautionary tale, frankly. That's currently the path we're on. He's just forever. But you don't want to give up on anyone because of this next guy, Bryce Young for the Panthers, which, oh my God. What a roller coaster. It
really is. It's like insane what happened at the end of last year.
I mean, Bryce Young, the whole thing was crazy. He's the shortest quarterback ever taken first, the lightest one. He's Kyler Murray's height, 20 pounds lighter. And it seemed like the Panthers coach at the time, Frank Reich, wanted CJ Stroud, and the owner, David Tepper, kind of came in and was like, we're taking Bryce Young. And they had traded up and they did the trade with the Bears. And
because
then
of that test.
Because of the test, and CJ Stroud flew overnight. I don't know how much that mattered, but maybe David Tepper cared, but CJ Stroud flew overnight and basically had a red eye and took this test and bombed it and then turned out to be like the best processing rookie we'd seen in 3 years. So whatever. Tests. Yikes. So Panthers start 1-12. It was horrific. And Bryce Young didn't look super like an NFL quarterback and everyone was fired. And
he's just walking around with his backpack.
Oh my God. He looks like a middle schooler.
Go to his first day of 6th grade.
And
he had the wheelie backpack, had the wheels on it. It was tough.
And we love Mina Kimes, but she didn't do him any favors because there's a photo where Mina looked taller than Bryce Young, which like maybe it was the angle and wrong, but I can't you couldn't unsee it.
Right.
Like this guy plays the same sport as like I don't know.
Even his name, like
he was literally
his name's Bryce Young. Like looks like an 8th grader.
He was in the same class as Richardson. He's like standing next to Anthony Richardson. It's like,
wild. Yeah, we were at the combine and we're like, I kind of get the whole just taking big guys thing.
Right.
So year 2 happens and he looks worse. Bryce Young looked like the single worst quarterback in the NFL. And 2 weeks happened. I had to double check this because I couldn't believe it. The Panthers were outscored in the first 2 weeks by 60 points.
I mean, they looked like the most inept team I've ever seen.
I think if you told me like, hey, you need to put your mortgage on one quarterback for sure being terrible.
Yeah.
That's currently starting in the NFL. Like I might have picked Bryce Young.
Yeah, and Bryce Young, I think you absolutely would. Like he just didn't look like an NFL player. Stephen Reeves, who's a Panthers fan here at the Ringer, a tortured Panthers fan, just put out he kept putting out funny things of Bryce Young kind of jumping to do checkdowns. Like Bryce Young couldn't see over his line. It was horrific. And then so they bench him for Dave Canales, the coach, benches him for Andy Dalton, and then just one of the weirder sliding doors. Andy Dalton gets in a car crash and everyone's okay, but Andy Dalton hurts his thumb. So Bryce Young plays, and then Bryce Young comes back and just looks like he did at Alabama, and and DK, you said it best. Like, I kind of forgot why I ranked him so high until he started playing like this. Well, and then you're like, oh, he's swagger back. Like, he started playing like he wasn't thinking anymore.
I don't know. It's like, honestly, like he just decided is like, I don't have anything to lose at this point. Like, I'm just going to go out there and play or something. Confidence is such a big deal. And that's, again, another reason like vibes are so important. So when he was drafted, I remember I had him like second. It's not like I had him ranked lowly. I just had Stroud first. But coming into the league, there's plenty of reasons to believe he was going to be good, right? Like what he did at Alabama, he was really elusive, creative, things like that. But then when he started playing, you're like, oh, now I realize why we don't bet on outliers. He was like an all-time outlier.
Don't bet on
in terms of size and strength, just overall his body type. He's skinny and short, right? Like he's small, and like there's other short guys that have succeeded, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, but both of them are like thick. They're really muscular.
But they were outliers in the other sense that Kyler Murray was athletic enough that he was drafted in 9th in Major League Baseball. Like his athleticism was hand-eye, all this stuff is also an outlier.
So so basically back to what you said is like his first year, I'm like, oh, okay. Now I see why you don't bet on outliers. But then you start to doubt, like, what was I seeing? Why did I even believe any of this shit? Why did
David
I think
Tepper
he would be
felt
good?
the same way.
Why did the Panthers? Why did most teams have him drafted over CJ Stroud? I don't know if that's actually true, but like that's what I think the narrative was. And so
he looked like a 7th round pick, not like someone truly who teams had a first
worse than like Josh Rosen, who was completely lost. And then everything he did last year, I was like, oh, okay, now I remember why I liked him. Yeah.
And he came back, and this is publicly reported, so I don't feel bad talking about it, but like Tyrese Maxey on the Sixers was like dating Bryce Young's girlfriend at the same time. He was playing horribly to start the season. Man. I don't think there was I don't know if the coaching staff necessarily believed in him a ton. So I think honestly what changed is I think the, professional near-death experience where he gets benched and, again, all these guys is the first time they've had that kind of adversity for anyone that good. So, but just to put a button on like how different it was. From when Bryce Young started his rookie year, week 1, or began the year of his rookie year 2023 to benching in 2024, Panthers were dead last in points. And when he came back, they were 15th. Like they went from the worst team in the league to average on offense. And there's a bunch of other ones, but I think that just kind of sums it up. And the other one to me that is the Panthers were in games Jalen Hurts played the whole game. The team that actually came closest to beating Philadelphia in the final 3 months was the Panthers. Like Bryce Young hit Xavier Legette for a game-winning touchdown with under a minute left in his chest, wide open. Xavier Legette dropped it. Bryce Young led a 98-yard touchdown drive where Legette dropped the touchdown. But that is the only team that really almost beat the Eagles with Jalen Hurts. So they were competitive. Mm-hmm. And then now they've added Ted McMillan at receiver, and then they just give up they added a ton of defensive players to this defense that gave up the most points ever. But yeah, it's like Bryce Young, it's a huge snap year. So it's interesting to see if he still has that swagger in 2025.
It's one of the coolest stories in sports because it just goes to show you how there's just like so much more going on beneath the surface, and like why human beings perform well or not well. And I even feel like Bryce coming out, like, obviously he had the physical limitations, but there were some people who were in on him who were just like, I don't really know why, but I just am. Like, when I watch him, he just kind of has something. He's comfortable. Yeah, he has an X factor.
I felt that way.
Yeah, that just like, it's an awareness, it's a poise, it's just like an intangible that he just like has. Yeah, loose. He's comfortable. And you felt it, that Eagles game. Like, I'm still pretty nervous, I think, to like invest in him just because of the physical limitations, just because of how bad it did look. Like Dave Canales benched him, and I'm like, man, that's just
he was hired to fix him.
It's kind of like the guy hired to fix him gave up in 2 weeks.
He's like, fuck this, we got to go back to Dalton.
Yeah, I'm like, man, he benched him for Andy Dalton, but I don't disagree that like the joy came back in his eyes, like he looked different from a behavioral standpoint, and
it manifested physically, right?
And it manifested physically, yeah. But do you guys feel a little bit trepidatious just about like, if this is just going to continue and he'll hit the ground running, or if this is like I don't know. He had 7 good games.
I think it's a good question, and I think I will root for Bryce Young to succeed.
I really want to like the Panthers.
I will do that from afar. I will not
agree.
like personally invest in his success, but I'm rooting for you. But like, not like I'm not gonna like help or believe that much.
Right.
I will do it in words, but not action.
I feel the same way. I think the trajectory is looking good, but it is hard to completely forget about how bad he looked before that, and that we got to this point right now based on an act of God, like Deus Ex Machina, like
act of God,
like fucking Andy Dalton broke his thumb in a car crash.
Yeah.
That's the reason he played. He probably wasn't going to freaking even play last year.
Yeah.
Or if he did, it was going to be really late in the season.
This is why I can't give up on Richardson. Is I don't know if anyone, I don't know if the collective football world, both people who like in coaching in the NFL, who are paid to analyze football, and general fans have ever been so consensus out on a player like Bryce Young, probably since like Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
Was the last time we were all so quickly out on a player that had been taken in the top 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
yeah, it strikes me as like, there's always these stories about teams who, again, they spend millions of dollars. They do all this research. They do basically, like spy work. They're going in and talking to people in his life and talking to his coaches and getting all the dirt on a guy. They spend months doing this scouting, sometimes years scouting these guys. And then
quarterbacks definitely years.
They show up at the first practice and you're like, "Oh, we fucked this up."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
it's
immediately,
amazing.
They're like, "Oh, this is not going to go well."
Which is why Heifetz you say all the time. Like if these guys were allowed to just come to a team and like practice for 2 days,
dude. If literally like I believe Apple for job interviews, they have you in a meeting and they're just like, because one-on-one, but they're like, how are you in a group of like 8 people?
Yeah.
And they actually observe you, just how you interact with other people. And then there's DK, there's always this story of the third rounders that just show up and like, fuck, he sucks.
Like
and they know day one. And like
usually it's not with the first pick in a quarterback.
No,
but like
usually,
I felt like that was like kind of close to what happened. Is like immediately for everyone was like, oh, he does not belong in the NFL.
The NFLPA would never let this happen. But it is so funny to me that if the job and if they're like, oh, the draft's so hard, they would do a lot better if they could just have them practice with the team for 3 days. They would go from 50-50 the first round to like 2/3 with like that one change. So Brett, I think that sums it up, Craig, which is like the expectation is like they shouldn't be the worst team in the NFL. But for fantasy, it's like I hope that Bryce and Ted McMillan are good. I'm not like targeting them unless you're like, well, the defense is gonna be bad, maybe they get in shootouts, but I still don't want to watch this team.
Watch from afar is a good way.
Watch from afar.
Root from afar.
Yeah, I'll root from afar for Bryce Young. All right, next guy here. We're going back one more year here.
Running it back again.
Don't care. This person's 25, so I don't care. Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville Jaguars, who I think is approaching the age of cutoff for being a young quarterback because we've seen a lot of him.
I think
he's almost as young as Bo Nix.
He's 25, and guess what? My cutoff was Tyler Shuck is 25, and Tyler Shuck is Trevor Lawrence's peer. So if Tyler Shuck could be a rookie, we could talk about Trevor Lawrence in the young quarterback check-in. So, Craig, what's up with Trevor Lawrence? Because honestly, it's another roller coaster.
Yeah, he's a tricky one because he's a wily one, that T-Law, because he's the most recent guy who was supposed to be the next guy.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. And it hasn't worked yet, really. And I would say, similar to Herbert, there is like a collection of people in the Trevor Lawrence cult who are like, you guys don't get it. He still has it. He's just had the worst situations for 4 straight years, which it began with Urban Meyer, which was a calamity. And we can throw that out. Then they bring in Doug Peterson. It went okay year 2. They went 9-8. Trevor Lawrence took a huge step. He had 25 touchdowns, 8 picks. And it looked like the building blocks were there of a guy who was on his way to becoming what we all thought he would be. They had that crazy playoff game where he threw 4 interceptions against the Chargers.
Yeah.
And they came back and won. And then year 3 comes around. And I would say year 3 and 4 are similar in that this was when the supporting cast was really deteriorated. The offensive line wasn't great. And Trevor Lawrence himself was just like hurt a lot. And it was not great. And it was a mess. And I think that clearly the scheme and the fit of what Doug Peterson was doing, I don't think meshed that well with Trevor Lawrence. And being injured, starts to exacerbate some of the problems. And he played through a lot of stuff and it all went poorly. And then he signed a 5-year, $275 million contract. After year 4, when he went 2-8 with the team. And now they brought in Liam Cohen and they did a complete overhaul. They brought in James Gladstone as their GM.
Doogie Howser, Jimmy Stones.
Yeah, they traded up.
Stones.
They traded a 1st-round pick to move up 3 spots to draft Travis Hunter. They drafted a running back in Bashal Tootin. They brought in Diami Brown, the wide receiver. They made some offensive line moves. They've been a terrible running game since he's been there. A lot of it has been really, really bad. So the question has always been like, how much of it is Lawrence? How much of the blame pie is Lawrence versus everything else? And I do think now coming in with Liam Cohen, similar to a couple of the guys we have talked about in the second year quarterback, like the Caleb, like this kind of needs to work for Trevor. I think like he needs to be good. And I think what's interesting about him is he's got all the tools. He's almost like, and I think this is why he's going to work with Liam Cohen, because hear me out. I almost think Trevor Lawrence, we should think of him more as just like a souped up Sam Darnold, where it's like a giant cannon that it's like, just point him in the right direction and tell him where to fire. And if you can do that, I think it could really work because he's pretty volatile. He has a tendency to make bad decisions and he's a little bit all over the place, but the physical tools that he has are great. And what Liam Cohen did with Baker Mayfield and what other coaches have done with somebody like Sam Darnold coming from similar systems, I think that is actually more of what Liam Cohen can do with Trevor Lawrence, where it's like you actually kind of slot him into this McVay, Shanahan style offense and kind of just load him into the cannon and point and shoot him rather than tell him to like run the offense like you're Peyton Manning.
I agree, and I am very bullish in Trevor Lawrence, but I'm also I'm not biased, but I feel biased because I just feel so strongly about it. DK, do you agree that Lawrence? I think this Lawrence Liam Cohen thing is going to work.
Yes, I do think it's. I mean, there's a reason that they went so hard to try and bring Liam Cohen in. Obviously, what was the timeline? They tried to hire him.
So Liam Cohen was like,
I'm
for the
not
Bucs.
I'm not going to come over there because of the GM.
He said thanks, but no thanks. And then they went to Trent Baalke, who's the little finger Rasputin of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He balked at Baalke. And so they fired Trent Baalke, and then Liam Cohen took the job.
And then Liam Cohen was like, all right, fine, I'll come over.
By the way, is it Balk or Bach?
I don't know.
Pronunciation-wise.
We don't have to figure that out.
Is the L there in the pronunciation or no?
I don't think you say balk. He balked.
It's balk. You balked. Like in baseball, you balk.
There was an L. Baseball balks are also. You're right. I don't know how to even say that in baseball. I'm not the pronunciation guy. But that's one of the weirdest rules in any sport is balking. Where it's just like it's just a vibe.
It's a false start in baseball.
It's a false start, but the definition of false start in the NFL is, well, did you move before the snap? And in baseball, it's like it's purely just. It felt like you weren't supposed to do that.
Yeah. It kind of looked like you were going to pitch.
It looked like you were going to throw a pitch. Anyway.
But yeah, so I think obviously they went to great lengths to bring in Liam Cohen. They see him as very valuable. They fired their GM so they could hire him, which was the right decision, I think, objectively. Regardless of how Liam Cohen does, I think it was a good thing for the organization. I think, to me, I'm like, I like Trevor Lawrence. I like what they've done this offseason. Travis Hunter is a really exciting player. Brian Thomas Jr. looks like, future superstar in the league. And the team is going in the right direction. It's hard to kind of shake the idea that the Jags, like it's just in their DNA to like be a fucking circus.
Oh, you're going that route. You're going like the Jags will always be Jags.
This is in the back of my mind as well.
I think
it feels like being like a Browns quarterback.
It's a thing. Good. Like it's the Jets. It's the
but we said that about the Lions, the Bengals, like
Washington.
It can be turned around. Washington.
It happens until it doesn't.
I know it can be turned around, but like this is year what for Lawrence? 5?
Yeah.
And we still think this is the year?
Oh, I was going to ask, do you think the contingent of like diehard supporters of Lawrence is stronger than any other quarterback that people waffle on? Like you have there's the Herbert cult, there's Lawrence. I don't know how the Kyler one used to be strong. I feel like that's gotten softer. But like which quarterback that hasn't lived up to expectations has the strongest supporters still to this day, you think, right now in the league? You think it's Lawrence?
It's a good question.
Yeah. It's almost like a religion.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know, but I think that's a nerd internet thing. I think
like Tua's divisive, but I don't think.
Oh, that's
can I give a controversial one?
Okay.
Dak Prescott. Which is who has existed in every corner of the conversation. He was the Russell Wilson most underpaid, most valuable player in the NFL. And then there was the Carson Wentz comparison where they're like, Wentz is better than Dak. And then he wasn't. And then Dak got way better. And then Dak's good.
Oh my God, I forgot about the Dak Wentz stuff.
And now Dak is
brutal.
just, I know. And then now Dak is just like one of the preeminent I don't want to call him Peyton Manning, but there's the Peyton Manning archetype of I'm an old school quarterback and I'm going to be in shotgun and I'm going to do everything from the line and all these things that, Hurts isn't necessarily doing. So, but yeah, there are guys that people just will defend to the death.
There is a group of people out there, like real football heads, who are like, no, Dak is actually like one of the best.
Yeah.
Like he's on that like Stafford path of like your favorite quarterback's favorite quarterback, like Dak at the line of scrimmage, like what he can actually do. I mean, I kind of think he didn't win the MVP in 2023 just because he was Dak Prescott, and I kind of think he should have.
You still love that one.
So I don't know. I think there's like the reason I said it's a religion is like there's a level of faith you have to have, a leap of faith, if you will, that Trevor Lawrence is going to finally elevate this team and turn into the promised.
Well, no, it's Liam Cohen is going to elevate this team.
Sure, someone's going to elevate it.
Can I just say one thing? Liam Cohen made Will Levis into a starting quarterback because Will Levis played so well under Liam Cohen that everyone just was like, sure, you can be in the NFL.
No, but that was in college.
I know. I'm just saying that Liam, I think
like college is a totally different fucking thing. Let's be honest.
I know, but I'm just saying Liam Cohen, I feel like there are so many guys that go through the Sean McVay factory. Like honestly, we should just call it this Derek Zoolander, the Sean McVay school for coaches who can't coach good. Just like everyone just goes through there and just becomes like a coach factory. And I think Liam Cohen's one of the few people where McVay went to Liam Cohen for ideas. Like that, like Sean McVay saw what Liam Cohen was doing in college.
Liam Cohen is actually the brains behind McVay, in fact.
No, but I'm just saying that like Liam Cohen is, it is very hard to parse which coordinators will become good head coaches. Very hard.
I know.
But I am more confident that like Ben Johnson, we all want to believe that Ben Johnson's going to be, but in reality, it's hard to figure it out.
That's what I'm saying. I just keep thinking of like going back to when, Doug Peterson was hired to replace Urban Meyer. And I'm trying to remember specifically, but it feels like people were pretty high on that decision. Like, oh, he's really good with quarterbacks. He's going to design it. He's an adult in the room.
3 years earlier.
Yes. Mm-hmm. He's this QB whisperer. He's going to figure everything out. And Trevor Lawrence is finally going to be who he was supposed to be. And so I'm hesitant to do that again with Liam Cohen because I felt like we were doing the same shit with Doug Peterson a couple years ago. And then, when Doug Peterson gets in here, everyone's complaining about attention to detail. All this stuff is like, we got receivers running into each other on routes, blah, blah, blah. Like it just, I don't know. So that's why I'm a little hesitant. That's not to say, that's nothing to do with what Liam Cohen has actually done in his career. I'm just saying there's a similar vibe in terms of the way that we talk about Liam Cohen and how we talked about Doug Peterson when he was hired.
That is undeniable. I'll give you that.
But that being said, I'm still high on Liam Cohen. I still like what the Bucs have done. What the Bucs did last year was awesome. Like generally speaking, I think it's going to be awesome. But I'm a little hesitant. I'm not quite ready to take that leap of faith yet.
I also kind of think that I don't know. I don't know if the supporting cast for Jacksonville is like that cool. I think Travis Hunter is carrying like a pretty heavy load for like the Jags vibes on offense. Like their running backs suck. Outside of Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas, like there's nothing going there. Like the tight end situation is like basically zero. I know people like Brenton Strange.
DK loves Brenton Strange.
Yeah, it's super athletic.
Let's suck
Brenton Strange guy.
The offensive line is like not that good. I'm kind of, it would be, if you look at the Bucs last year with Liam Cohen, like they have a great offensive line. They have two awesome wide receivers. Like, I don't know. I think they had capable running backs. Bucky Irvin turned out to be great. Like, I think there's just more to work with in Tampa than there is now in Jacksonville.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be certain similarities that the Jags offense has with the Rams. Like Diami Brown is certainly going to play like a 2-2 Atwell role, and then Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter like should be awesome on offense. I mean,
Diami Brown ain't on the team, or is he on the team?
Diami Brown.
That was like one of their signature.
That was
signings.
One of the ones where I was kind of skeptical of Doogie Howser, the 34-year-old GM, who signed Diami Brown to a 1-year deal for $10 million, which didn't make any sense to me. But I still can't believe they traded up a first-round pick to go get Travis Hunter. I love Travis Hunter so much, and I'm like, well, that better work now.
The Jags schedule, it doesn't look super great for them. So starting out the season, they play the Panthers, which is fine. Like they could probably win that one. I'm guessing they'll be favored in that game. Then they get the Bengals, at the Bengals, against the Texans, at the Niners, which I guess, I don't know, maybe the Niners aren't what they used to be, but they're still, I think, vastly better. Then the Chiefs, then the Seahawks, then the Rams. So, like, by week 7, what are we thinking here is a record? Like 2-5?
To be honest, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if they were 3-4, but I think realistically, we just need by the end of the season Trevor Lawrence to look like anything we thought Trevor Lawrence would look like. Like, if we're being honest, I don't think the Jaguars need to like win the division this year. I mean, they could, I guess, but in reality,
the second half of their year is much easier.
I also look at this team though. I think there's an element of the Bears last year where it's easy to be like, oh my God, the Jags offense, Lawrence, Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter, and then ignore the running backs. But the offensive line, I think it's in a way the opposite because the Bears, we ignored the interior. And the Jags kind of addressed the interior because they got Robert Hainsey, who was the center with Liam Cohen in Tampa Bay, and he signed. And they got Patrick McCarry from Baltimore, who's okay. Like, he's an improvement. He's not necessarily amazing. But the Jags have these weird tackles. They have like Walker Little, who replaced Cam Robinson, and I think played like 3 or 4 games. They signed into an extension. The old GM, balked. And I don't know if Walker Little's, I guess he's an average left tackle, but he played 4 games. He got hurt. So left tackle quietly might not be solved. And then Anton Harrison's fine at right tackle, but I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens with this line. Overall, I am very bullish on this team. But yeah, maybe I'm just like out. Maybe I'm just being silly about Trevor Lawrence. Looking at Lawrence specifically though, I'm still in, and he is frustrating at times. I think he escapes actually because of Jacksonville. Jacksonville's not hot takey. Like if Trevor Lawrence was playing like he was in Dallas, Trevor Lawrence would be like this like lightning rod player. You know what I mean? But the Jags are so forgettable and easy to just kind of like out of sight, out of mind. That in a weird way, I think Trevor Lawrence was a bigger topic in Clemson than he has been in the NFL. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like Lawrence. I'm just like, again, it just feels like deja vu all over again with the way that we're talking about it. It's like, this is the time it's actually going to work. I really do want it to work, and I believe it could, but I'm just cynical a little bit in the back of my mind.
But like, of all the guys we've talked about today, Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, and now Trevor Lawrence, if one of those guys was going to be like the QB6 this year,
Lawrence.
It's Lawrence. Maybe it's Stroud, but
don't forget Liam Cohen and the Bucs last year. Like Chris Godwin was leading the NFL in catches. Like that's the other thing. You know who else went number 1 in the NFL draft, and then people weren't sure about, and then when he was 27 was really good, was Baker fucking Mayfield. Like Baker Mayfield was revived, and I know Dave Canales did that too. But the point is, like we just saw, like the production is crazy. So,
Baker Mayfield's career is wild.
It is, yeah. If you count college, I think he was in 8 offenses in 10 years or something.
He was basically out of the league.
He was running scout team stuff on the Panthers.
He's another example. I know I'm a broken record, but he's another example why I just don't want to give up on quarterbacks. Where it's like he went to the Browns and the Browns suck, and maybe that's the point. But Baker was 30. Baker, the first pick in the draft, and Baker kind of found his way. Basically at 28, Baker resuscitated his career, and so I look at Trevor Lawrence, who's 25. And if NFL teams are sitting here and saying Tyler Shuck at 25, he's the same fucking age as Trevor Lawrence, still has a shot after 7 years in college. I just look at Trevor Lawrence and I'm like, I still think it's there. And I'm like, yeah, he's still making bad decisions. He's still doing all this stuff. I think that the aggressiveness is there, which is good. There are certain decisions he makes where it just seems like he's either seeing the field wrong. He's not as accurate as his deep accuracy is awesome, but the middle, there's certain things where he's inaccurate in clean pockets, which is strange sometimes. He is too old for that, but but everything you say that I'm like, well, that's fixable. Like post-snap decision making, like I don't know. It's again, I believe, but
is it weird that there's been 2 number 1 pick quarterbacks in the last, I guess, 7 years in Baker and Bryce Young that were basically like out of the league, and if it wasn't for like a freak car accident or like a bunch of injuries on the Rams, like these guys just like might have not been playing quarterback
anymore. You never get a chance
now,
again. Yeah.
And now they're just starting quarterbacks in the league.
But life is certain. I mean, yeah, life is weird. That's also why Dave Canales was hired to be the Panthers coach, is because Baker Mayfield's short and he fixed Baker Mayfield and he went number 1. And the Panthers literally just called the guy who fixed the last short number 1 quarterback. Like sometimes
look at Geno Smith. Same deal. Like he was the backup for like 7 years, and then he finally got his opportunity to do it.
I think the flip side, the interesting conversation is which quarterbacks do you believe could have made it if they had been given another chance or things had gone slightly differently? Because I think it's like, obviously it's a long list. Like they're like Baker, we were so out on Baker, Darnold, all these guys. I think there are certainly other players that we probably could have been good. Someone threw out, I forget who, someone threw out Tim Couch as being a guy. Maybe that was Nate, but someone threw out Tim Couch as being like, Tim Couch probably would have succeeded if it wasn't the expansion Cleveland Browns. David Carr for the Texans. I think that was
Dane Brugler who threw that one out. I remember that conversation.
I'm still holding space for Kenny Pickett.
Are you? Do you want me to read some Kenny Pickett facts?
Look,
the sort, Kenny the Sort Pickett.
Matt Canada. There were moments.
Where's Matt Canada these days?
What's he up to?
Costco? I don't know. There was
Costco.
There were some fourth quarters with Pickett early on in his career.
Yeah, I remember that.
I googled Matt Canada job. Oh, is he at the University of Maryland? He's the offensive coordinator
he is
at Maryland.
Yeah. What about Shane Are We Live Waldron? Where's he?
I don't believe he got a job.
I think
he's the passing game coordinator for the Jags. Uh-oh.
Are you serious?
Fuck.
Oh, no.
Well, that is a perfect button to this conversation. All right, well, out on the Jags.
Because he was with Liam Cohen in LA High, I bet.
Yeah, I take back everything I said. This is not going to work. This is over.
Yeah, they overlapped in LA together.
Yikes. Well, we'll revisit that in August. Let's take that back. Okay.
I can't wait for Liam Cohen to be fired in week 9 and Shane Waldron is the head coach of the team.
No.
Yeah, I'm out.
Oh, that's great.
All right, DK. The other guy here, 2021 NFL draft, Justin Fields, fun trivia fact. The Giants had the Eagles, Giants, and Cowboys were all picking in a row. And the Giants tipped their hand. They wanted Devontae Smith. So the Eagles jumped the Giants to take Devontae Smith. Giants were so pissed they had Devontae Smith. They trade back with the Bears. The Bears take Justin Fields. The Giants take Kadarius Toney. And then the Cowboys take Micah Parsons.
Wow.
So the Giants literally took Kadarius Toney instead of Micah Parsons. But
oh my God,
that was so the Bears
brutal.
could take, not that I think about it. Anyway, that's why they had to take Abdul Carter because, do that again. But that's Justin Fields went to the Bears 11th, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And
Justin
now
Fields,
he's on the Jets.
Yeah. To me, he's a good example of the difference between college football and the NFL, and like the margins and the windows that you have in the NFL are just so much smaller. You have to do everything so much faster, and processing speed can be kind of hard sometimes to scout, because like, how do you scout? Oh, how fast is he processing? You know what I mean? Because a lot of college systems are pretty regimented, like 1 read, get the ball out, 2 reads, get the ball out, whatever. And I think when I think of the Justin Fields career, he's just straight up too slow as a processor to succeed as an NFL passer. Like, he just does everything too slow. He drops back too slow. He looks too slow. Like, you know what I mean? The ball is not coming out quickly. His throwing motion's a little odd. His throwing motion's a little slow. Everything is just slow. He has a really good arm. He's an amazing athlete. And I think, the tools, like we talk about the tools, he has amazing tools, but the processing speed, I think that's like the difference between a playable, a startable quarterback and a backup. And I think what we've seen so far in Justin Fields' career is, unfortunately, he just hasn't shown any improvement really in terms of like how quickly he's getting the ball out, how quickly he's processing what's in front of him, reading the defense. He drops his eyes. He takes an insane amount of sacks. His sack rate last year was dead last among 39 qualifying quarterbacks. Pressure rate was dead last among 39 qualifying quarterbacks. So what do you do? And 39% success rate last year was 36th out of 39. So he's
traded for like a 6th round pick swap, basically, to go from the Bears to the Steelers, and solely so he could compete for the job.
So this is, I mean, when you look at those numbers, you could talk about all the other stuff, but like wins and stuff, you look at those numbers, like this is why they went to Russell Wilson. And but however, there is a world that you can build an offense around his talents that I think will be at least interesting, especially interesting from a fantasy point of view. I don't have any delusions that Justin Fields is going to go into New York and turn the Jets around and turn them into like a powerhouse or a playoff team or whatever. But I do think, he's such a fantastic athlete and he's so good in the running game that they can build a pretty cool offense, a pretty interesting offense around his ability to run the ball, read option, rollouts, bootlegs, things like that. He's still pretty good. Like, he can definitely push the ball down the field. But yeah, I mean, overall, his career has not gone like I had hoped. I was very high on Justin Fields when he came out, and it turns out just like the concerns around his processing speed in college were very valid. And it's just, that's been his it's just been his Achilles heel as a quarterback this whole career. And he's like still starter. They still gave him $30 million guaranteed, which is kind of crazy. That's
my question for you, DK. With everything you just said, I actually think, isn't it kind of an under the radar weird story that with everything that Justin Fields has done, or maybe not done in his career, it's kind of weird that the Jets just handed him the starting job with no competition. Even Tyrod Taylor, who's the backup, has said, I'm here to support Justin Fields. It's not a competition. Isn't it kind of weird that this is the Jets' plan? It's almost under-discussed.
There's not a lot of quarterbacks out there. I will say, in Fields' defense, like his career, the way that you start his career is like how you draw it up to like fail a quarterback, right? Like You got drafted by the Bears. That's number one. That's strike one. Rookie year, Matt Nagy's the head coach. Bill Lazor is the OC. Second year, they fire Lazor.
They put him in. His first 3 games were against like the Browns when Myles Garrett and the Browns team was incredible, and then like the Bucs coming off that Super Bowl and they sacked him like 8 times. It was like the 2 or 3 best defenses in the NFL.
He went from Lazor to Getsy in year 2. He had a 2-year thing with Luke Getsy and Matt Eberflus. He was traded to the Steelers in year 4, like Mike Tomlin, Arthur Smith. Year 5. So he's had 4 OCs and 4 offensive systems in 5 years. Like, a lot of guys are going to kind of fizzle out and not really develop in that kind of system. I'm not like absolving Fields for what he's struggled with, but like that is the definition of a bad way to do it. And so, you know, I don't know, like maybe he'll show some improvement. Maybe the system under Tanner Engstrom, who I don't know a ton about, is going to be like really work with him in terms of like speeding up his process, getting the ball out more quickly. We'll see. All this being said, though, like I'm actually kind of excited to watch the Jets offense because I think the stuff they can do in the run game will be fun.
To go back to why the Jets did this and they just gave him $30 million, it almost feels like they just wanted to prove they didn't need Aaron Rodgers. like you know, it's like
right.
if you're at a bar and your ex is there and you just broke up, you just like make out with somebody just to show them that you're over them. Like it feels like that's what they're like. Oh yeah, we don't need you. We'll give Justin Fields $30 million. We love him. We think he's better than you, actually. You know?
He makes
and
me
they just
happy.
like open the corner of their eyes, like they saw that, right?
Yeah, like they made Aaron Rodgers fly to New York just to be like, we don't need you. We have Justin Fields. Look how fast he is. He has 2 Achilles at work. He's 25.
When the Steelers wanted Justin Fields and they see them making out with the Jets and like, shit, I guess I got to hook up with Rodgers.
Yeah. It feels like this is a move that just like is like it's a floor raiser, but there's no ceiling. Like this is just like can we win 8-9 games and kind of build a foundation here and then figure it out later?
Run the ball,
protect
the football,
prove that we can win in the trenches, play good defense, and just like, you know, for the first time in a while, have some like stability on the Jets. And I do feel, and Justin Fields also seems like a likable guy. Apparently the Steelers players really liked him. Ownership really liked him. He was well liked amongst the team. And so I think this is just a floor raising move for the Jets, if not that super inspiring.
He had one. There was like a Thursday night football game where Fields threw for like 350 yards against Washington. The defense was terrible, but it was, I mean, horrific defense at Washington at the time. They were starting Flat Stanley, Emmanuel Forbes, but like there was a moment where you were like,
is he out of the league?
Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately,
man, that's
he's a 160-pound defender.
Was he a first-round pick, second-round pick?
16th overall, like
Damn.
a middle first-round pick. And there were other cornerbacks.
No, he's on the Rams.
Oh, he's on the Rams.
He's not out of the league.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, your point stands. He was the 16th pick, and he lasted 2 seasons with the Commanders.
DK, like, what's up?
They overthought it, man.
The whole
What's
league,
up?
like everybody, because he probably would have gone.
I don't think that he was on the board as a first rounder for other teams.
You don't think so?
No, I mean,
still,
I'm sure 2 or 3,
rounder.
not 20, 30.
I think he was if I'm remembering correctly, it was like kind of a fringe first rounder.
But
16th
again, that's
overall.
a don't bet on outliers because I think other teams. Because you look at the guy and you're like, and you're like, well, historically, if 98% of people 160 pounds don't make it, maybe don't be like, well, does that work for anyone else? No, it was like, well, it could work for us. So
it's just crazy.
He's been bulking this offseason, guys.
He's 165.
I hope so. The irony too is like they were just trying to do whatever because that was when there was no ownership in Washington. That was like when everyone was in limbo and everyone was just like trying. There was no quarterback plan. Sam Howell's there. Like no one was like doing anything, and it's like do anything less controversial than that.
Just like gaining weight is so interesting. Like if somebody told you have to put on 10 pounds, a normal person, you could be like, all right, I'll just eat like shit and I'll get a big gut. Like it is so hard to be like, if you're a skinny person, like Chet Holmgren on the Thunder or something, and it's like gain 10 pounds, but distribute it throughout your entire body.
It's
with
a
muscle.
huge because it's muscle, and also these guys are working out all day.
Yes.
So like this happened. I remember. I mean, this happens every year in every team. Guys are told to cut or lose weight. So, I mean, something as simple as if you're hand down defensive end and you're going to stand up, and they're like lose 15 pounds. Or sorry, going the other, stand down. Stand up. You want to hand in the dirt, be a D lineman. And it's like a Zach Bond for the Eagles, probably a good example of like someone who's had to do this snip, snap, gain weight, lose weight. It's like gain 15, 20 pounds.
Dude.
And it's like, do you know how much they have to eat? These guys have to eat like chicken breast and salmon out of their own, like money out of their own pocket. Literally like all day force feed themselves to be working out and cardio as much as they do to gain basically a pound a week in the off season.
And with the amount of calories they're burning, like exercising, because you need to also exercise to build up the muscle. Like you can't just eat the food. It is extremely difficult to put on the 7 pound. Think of 7 1-pound steaks.
Well, this is
slap that on your body.
Tape it. Saran wrap. Well, this is the other reason why offensive linemen all lose weight.
Yeah.
Is it's not just they're like, oh, I'm tired of being like this. I'll just start running marathons like Alan Faneca. It's like they're eating so much that they don't like eating anymore.
Totally.
Like it's not fun.
My brother-in-law, I mean, this is a much lower scale. My brother-in-law played D3 football, and he's a thin guy. He's like basically my frame. He played offensive line.
Oh my gosh.
And he was probably like 50 or 60 pounds up in college. He hurt his back. He stopped playing college halfway through. And by the time he was like a junior, he had immediately lost all of the 60 pounds and just went right back to his normal weight.
That's fucking
it's nuts.
The body is insane.
Yeah. It's like you can't recognize, like Joe Thomas. Just so skinny now.
Yeah. Anyway, Fields could be like the QB6 though.
I think here's what's funny about Justin Fields. I have a fun little stat for you guys. I think I've said this 3 years in a row that like Justin Fields, whether or not he's good, if he's going to play, is unbelievable in fantasy. I've found this stat. This is from Tristan Cockcroft at ESPN. In 2020, T-Bone. In 2022, and this is through 2022, so it's not updated the last few years. But in 2022, Justin Fields had more fantasy points on rushing plays than any other quarterback in the history of the NFL in a season.
He's a fantastic runner.
Like
man.
it is like the upside is the upside for Field. Like if Field, he doesn't have to be a Darnold and win 14 games. But if Justin Fields plays well enough that we're like, oh, maybe he's going to be an NFL starter. The upside is if he plays 17 games, Justin Fields joins that top tier of Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Jaden Daniels because Justin Fields could outrun all of them on the ground. He's not going to throw for as many touchdowns as Josh Allen, but there is absolutely a chance that if you're like, wow, I took Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes 60th, we have Patrick Mahomes ranked 100th and we're high. Sorry, we have Justin Fields ranked 100th and we're high. Other people have 115th, 120th. Fields, he's going to start. There are games he plays where he sucks, but like, who's going to get?
Don't worry about those.
Forget those. That's dumb. I'm just saying, like, Justin Fields could easily run for 1,000 yards this season.
Yeah.
I don't know if he could join like Jaden and Lamar because those guys are the combination. Like Lamar threw 40 touchdowns.
Fine, that's fair.
That's not
Justin, you're right. More accurately, he could lead the next tier below them.
Yes.
And basically the idea is just trust that you can identify which pocket passer will be next to Joe Burrow. Was like, you want to take Baker Mayfield and assume he does that again? Or Mahomes, you want to take Justin Fields and then take CJ Stroud or Trevor Lawrence for free later.
I think it's the way we talked about Anthony Richardson last year is kind of what Justin Fields could be this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
That second tier below the elite kind of 4 or 5.
Yeah. And again, we had talked about this last year with Fields, but we didn't know with Russ. And it's like, we kind of know. It's like, unless he's horrible, which is possible, but Fields has that upside that it's because he's been on so many teams. I think people are discounting, but I think he's probably going to move up. But even 90th pick and later, you can convince me even higher than that. I think Fields is absolutely worth the gamble.
Do you guys think, whenever there's like over-unders, I'm always less interested in saying like, oh, the over-under's 8.5. Do you think they're going to go over or under? And someone's like, I think slightly over. That's like, to me, betting if they're going to win 9 or 8 is boring.
They usually nail the fucking number is the truth.
Right. It's like it's going to be close. If somebody told you the Jets win 4 games or 12, what would you bet on?
4.
I mean, that was my first instinct too.
Yeah. If somebody said Justin Fields plays all 17 games and they win 4 or 12, you would take 4?
You have to really believe in Aaron Glenn and Tanner Engstrom. And like, I just need someone to explain to me why the Lions lost Ben Johnson and Tanner Engstrom didn't get the offensive coordinator job. And I haven't yet heard an explanation for that. That is like, well, he's really smart and really going to be a great coordinator for the Jets. But yeah, they let him go with Aaron Glenn instead of hiring him internally.
How good is their defense going to be? I think it's always tough it's very tough to predict defenses. I know.
Look, you guys know, I mean, look,
12-win defense. I don't know.
I'm still big time. I'll talk about dying on the hill. I'm dying on the hill like Robert Saleh was actually doing a good job coaching the Jets. I'm the last person in the world other than Robert Saleh's 10 children who believe this. But
you're the 11th person on the world.
11th person. Yeah, 11 personnel over here.
10 children.
This is all in a way the same conversation 3 times in a row. Do we want Bryce Young to succeed? Yes, but I'm not going to bet on it. The Panthers? Do we want Trevor Lawrence to succeed? Yes. Shane Waldron? Not going to bet on the Jags. Justin Fields to the Jets. Want Justin Fields to succeed? Not going to bet in the Jets. This is all the same conversation.
Which quarterbacks do you not want to succeed?
I actually, it's funny. The U.S. Open's on again. We're recording this June 12th. I feel Jared Goff reminds me of Jordan Spieth in that, not necessarily personality-wise, but because I really like when Jordan Spieth and Jared Goff are crushing it and in contention or failing and like publicly humiliating themselves, but I hate when they're just average.
And you think Jared Goff is just average right now?
I really wanted them to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But I like that if the Lions went out, Jared Goff like flamed out and it was kind of crazy and horrible. Like, I don't know.
DK, which quarterback's success moves you the least?
Well, now it's Aaron Rodgers.
Wait, what do you mean?
Remove Aaron Rodgers. Like right. I don't know. If you had to rank all the guys you wanted to see succeed at quarterback, who's last? And we won't say Aaron Rodgers.
And not because of your teams, you don't like them. Like your division
not
rivals.
Because of
Brock Purdy doesn't count because you hate the Niners.
Like, I kind of personally feel like Kyler Murray doesn't do a lot for me.
He was the guy that came to mind. Yeah. I was going to say whoever starts for the Saints.
Kyler is shades of Ben Simmons.
Me a lot.
Interesting.
Realistically, it's probably
This is a very
Darnold.
funny question. Yeah.
Darnold,
fuck you.
I want him to succeed.
But if you go down the list, like, I mean, I want Burrow to succeed more. I want Lamar to succeed more. Rodgers is definitely last. Drake May. I mean, Tua, I guess I should be rooting for.
Yeah, I know. Tua, I'm kind of like,
He doesn't move me. Maybe I should be moved. Not very compelling, Jay.
This is a good transition into this next guy because Jordan Love is a quarterback I don't really think about much. And he's the next guy on this list who kind of a weird career so far, Jordan Love. He was a first-round pick in 2020. So he was behind Aaron Rodgers during the pandemic, which I can't imagine the type of shit he was hearing from Aaron then. He was forged in the flames of Aaron Rodgers in the pandemic. Right. And then he watches Aaron Rodgers win back-to-back MVPs. Then Rodgers has a bad 2023 season. He hurt his hand and he's out. And then Jordan Love becomes a starter. And it's weird to me that he's only been the starter for 2 years. In my head, he's been starting for like 5.
That's why I included this because, he's in the same draft class as Burrow and Herbert. And
it's crazy.
I mean, Burrow's 3 years removed from appearing in the Super Bowl.
Totally. And so the first year he comes in, the first half of the season, I remember Heifetz, you were really in on Jordan Love that year. And
I was.
The first half of the season, he was not good. They were 3-6. He had 14 touchdowns and 10 picks. And we all kind of were like, that was a miss. And then the second half of the season, they go on a tear. They close the season 6-2. Jordan Love throws 18 touchdowns to 1 interception. They destroy the Cowboys in the playoffs, and they almost beat the Niners to get to the NFC Championship. And it was like, the Packers did it again. Like, they have their guy for the next 15 years. We come into last year.
And they had to like re-sign him like immediately, right?
Yeah. Sign the big contract. They head into last year. Week 1, they're in Brazil playing on the slip and slide.
Oh, yeah.
And he hurts his knee at the very end of the Eagles game.
On the play before a Hail Mary, basically, right?
Yeah.
Stupid.
He sprains his MCL. He misses 2 games and was kind of not really the same, I think, for the rest of the season. Then he hurts his groin in week 8. And then they have a bye week 10. And from weeks 11 to 17, he was kind of healthy. And if you look at that, stretch, he was actually pretty good. He kind of went back to showing glimpses of what he did the year before that. And so, similar to Trevor Lawrence, I feel like Jordan Love is the type of guy where it's like physically, he can make all the throws and he can do everything.
It's fantastic, yeah.
But it's the decision-making and the volatility that like you can't quite nail down. And what's interesting is this year heading into 2025, it's basically the same team. I mean, they drafted Matthew Golden, the receiver out of Texas, and they drafted another wide receiver, but it's more or less the same. They didn't do a lot in free agency. It's the same coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball. And so from a fantasy perspective, I think it's like, I don't really know what the ceiling is. 2 years ago was really great. He doesn't really run a lot. And I think similarly to like the Burrow, Stroud, like he needs to run very, very pure. And he's kind of a streaky player. And Jordan Love is almost kind of like a Flacco in my eyes where I'm like, you know what? I could probably see him getting hot and like going to the Super Bowl. And I could also see him flaming out and like being 8-9 this year. And they just like can't really put it together.
I think
he reminds me, as you guys know, I'm a big expert on golf. And he reminds me of like, you didn't laugh there. I was totally kidding.
I figured,
yeah.
For those listening who don't know, when Craig and I start talking about golf, DK visibly just tunes out of the
my
conversation.
eyes just go.
He's scrolling without his phone. He's just like somewhere else.
No, but he kind of reminds me of like a golfer. You guys can tell me which one this is. That is kind of hot tempered and could get really, really hot and be like one of the best golfers in the world, or fucking suck. I don't know if that's who's that guy that went to live that was like one of the best golfers for a long time. Super rich now.
Dustin Johnson?
No, the other one.
John Rahm.
John Rahm?
No, the other one. No,
Brooks Koepka.
Yes, Koepka. He reminds me a little bit
Koepka.
of. Okay, well, that's maybe not a good one, but like I just feel like there's no middle ground kind of deal. It's like he's either awesome or it falls apart quickly.
Yeah, there are certain players.
Honestly, it's fucking Rory.
Yeah.
Maybe. Sure.
Rory's like missing the cut at the Masters and winning it the next year.
It's like in the NBA, there's always guys, it's like the sixth man you bring off the bench, and it's like you wait and see what he does with his first two shots. And if he makes them, you're like, this guy's going to put up 30. And if he misses them, you're like, he's going to go 0 for 12 today. And that's kind of, it's like the first quarter, I feel like I just know what kind of Jordan Love game I'm going to get.
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah. This is the guy we got today.
I just think he's one of the more enigmatic, like good quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah. And he's a funny mix because frankly, he throws like Aaron Rodgers, but he thinks like Brett Favre. Like, I think that, and I mean those complimentary and derogatory, because Brett Favre himself will be the first to admit he didn't really understand. Of all the Hall of Fame great quarterbacks, Brett Favre probably understood what was happening on the field defensively less than any of them.
He didn't know what a cover 2 was.
Like Peyton Manning is out here like doing PhD research on the field live, like with Ed Reed. He's playing 4D chess. Brett Favre's like straight up just broke the record for touchdown passes by being like, fuck it, Donald Driver.
He's like fucking, he's like John Daly. He's like, where's the first tee? What's the course record?
100%. Literally just with 12 Diet Cokes and his pack of cigs.
Just smoking a heater. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Brett Favre literally saw Patrick Mahomes is like, man, he's smarter than me. Like,
do you think if you took like 28-year-old Brett Favre and put him in the NFL now, he'd be terrible because defenses are way more complex?
He had no shot.
Probably,
he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. Favre is, I mean, well, that's the reason Mahomes is Andy Reid was like, man, this is like Brett again, but I'll teach him how to fucking read a defense. Don't forget, Mahomes said he didn't know how to read defense till 2021. So all that said, Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, for all his stuff, is obviously very smart with football. Mm-hmm. And Jordan Love isn't there yet, but Jordan Love
in general, some people say.
Yeah, jeez. Do your own research. But Jordan, there's still research to be done. I think sometimes, frankly, it's as simple as Jordan Love is capable. And Rodgers had this issue. When Rodgers won the MVPs and then talked about it later, he was like, I kind of had an issue in 2018. I think that's when McCarthy got fired. And Rodgers went back and watched his old tape from his 2011 season, which is one of the best quarterback seasons in the history of football. And Rodgers realized that he just kind of like got sloppy on his technique and fundamentals. And like, he saw how fundamental, like he was doing all the off-platform throws and little like fallbacks when he had to, but otherwise he was so buttoned up. And he was like, I need to go back to that. I'm older now, not like I'm worse, not better. So Rodgers, the MVP seasons were the result of focusing on fundamentals. Jordan Love, I think that's his issue. Yeah. Jordan Love sometimes he can throw from any angle.
It's like you didn't need to fall away from that throw.
Yes. You know? So that's how you have so much talent that sometimes you suck. Where it's like Jordan Love when he gets off his platform, gets off his fundamentals, sometimes he misses easy fucking throws and just puts it, and it's not always a miss. Sometimes it's on the wrong shoulder or whatever, but overall I'm a believer because it's weird. I kind of thought he mentally he'd be a little more advanced at this age because the sitting for 3 years, but maybe he's sitting with Aaron Rodgers that long kind of rotted his brain.
I mean, yeah, he sat for 3 years, but it's also just like, you got to play in games, man. I just feel like when I think about Jordan Love, I think about just, I don't know how to say it. It's like there's just not enough. There's not enough evidence yet whether he's good or bad. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he's probably really good, but we just haven't seen it enough. There's not enough games. There's not enough proof, I guess, yet. And I think honestly, like Packers fans, let us know what you think. But I feel like there's even like among Packers fans that people are not quite sure what to make of Jordan Love.
Well, no offense to the Packers fans. The most spoiled fan base ever for quarterbacks, other than the Patriots and Tom Brady. Like Brett Favre, it's forgotten now. Brett Favre retired as the all-time leader in touchdowns and yards, and then they got Aaron Rodgers, who was better than Brett Favre, like 30 years. And there were people who were like 35 that had seen two quarterbacks, and they were both like top 12 quarterbacks ever. So yeah, it's like they look at Jordan Love, but overall, Jordan Love has the physical tools, frame, athleticism, arm angles. He'll be a quarterback in the NFL for as long as he can play. You know what I mean? Like even if like I'm a believer, like he has just those. If Daniel Jones is going to start for the Colts this year, like Jordan Love will keep playing football. You know what I mean? He's not going to go anywhere. But I am curious if he is able to hit the ceiling, because I still believe the ceiling's there, but I would like to see more consistency.
Does he do anything for you guys in fantasy? Like, do you even think about him?
I mean, I think he's in that big group of guys that are sort of just like the Dak Prescotts, I guess CJ Stroud is in there. There's like pocket passers that could throw 40 touchdowns and give you a really good year in fantasy, but probably more likely are just going to be sort of middle of the road.
Like I find it hard for him to finish higher than like QB 10. Like, what would he need to do?
Throw 40 touchdowns.
I just look at it like every year, the pocket passer thing. The reason we have the memento tattoo of don't draft pocket passers is every year there's one pocket passer that you maybe could have seen coming that's like joins the mobile quarterbacks, and one or two that you could not have seen coming.
It's whack-a-mole.
And we always try to guess which they are. And it's like, if Joe Burrow's fine, Joe Burrow's good. Mahomes even. I'm like, all right, but like, is he? And last year, Baker Mayfield, you could have gotten like 150th. Like, you might have added Baker Mayfield off waivers last year. And so in a world where you want to just guess which, and all the other pocket passers, they're kind of like in fantasy football, they're like logs. Like like they're all interchangeable, frankly, because the difference between 14 fantasy points a game and 15 with the quarter, it doesn't matter at some point. So if you're looking in a world where in our rankings, at some point you have to rank who are these guys from 14 to 20, Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, and then Drake May's in it. Like at some point, if those 5 guys are going to be your backup quarterback, I want to swing for the fences with my first pick. That's why I like Justin Fields. I haven't mentioned Caleb Williams. Like, there's so many guys. Like, I do not want to take Jared Goff as the 8th quarterback if CJ Stroud or Trevor Lawrence or these guys are 18th. You know what I mean? I think that's a wasted pick. It's like, you need a guy who can run or, just wait. Anyway.
And I got to say, Jordan Love, like, I kind of think of him, I think, as maybe more athletic than he is because of like the way he throws and kind of the gunslinger part of him. But Jordan Love does not run. Robert Mays and Derek Klassen were talking about this. Dude, the last 2 years, his scramble EPA in the last 2 years ranks 39th amongst quarterbacks.
Oh, wow.
1 spot ahead of Jameis Winston and 1 spot behind Jacoby Brissett. Scrambling.
Jacoby Brissett's like the definition of a park and bark.
Like, the man does not run or scramble ever, which matters in fantasy football.
Yeah.
But Jacoby Brissett, he's behind Jacoby Brissett.
Speaking of Jacoby Brissett,
that's wild.
Last week I asked you guys, this is actually kind of ties it together. I told you guys that Aaron Rodgers has the lowest interception rate in the history of the NFL, which is throwing at 1 pick every 150 throws. And I said, I would give you $1 billion if you could guess who he's tied with. And the answer is Jacoby Brissett.
Wow. What's the yards per attempt on those two?
Probably different. Probably. Rodgers throws away a lot of passes. Okay. The last guy here real quick, I want to hit Brock Purdy, who I don't think we have to talk about as much because frankly, I think we talk about Brock Purdy more than all of these guys, to be honest. And I think we've talked about him this offseason.
He's a controversial guy.
And the career in a nutshell, I mean, people know the deal. Like, Brock Purdy was the last pick in the draft, and he kind of broke our brains because he came in as a rookie and he replaced Jimmy G, and he was just better than Jimmy G. And if you take out the games that he, like the NFC Championship game where he got hurt, the games he finished, Brock Purdy didn't lose. Like, he went 12-0 in his first 12 games, which also coincided with Christian McCaffrey, but whatever. But the Niners basically led the NFL with this literally Mr. Irrelevant pick in every conceivable category in traditional or advanced statistics, and no one, like, it kind of broke a lot of people's brains, probably including mine. And if we're being honest, we'd probably think about Purdy differently if we won the Super Bowl. And we're talking about a Niners-Chiefs Super Bowl where Christian McCaffrey, I think, fumbled his first touch and lost the ball. And then you also have Jake Moody missed an extra point in a game that went to overtime. And how differently would we think about the Niners, Brock Purdy, if the Niners
Shanahan is cursed.
Dude, they missed an extra point. And also the last play of the game, or the last play of regulation, like, Purdy had Ayuk. I think it was Ayuk in the end zone for a touchdown, but then they just screwed up the block, and so it was basically an unblocked Chief. Got to him. But, I that always happens in the game. I'm like, damn, they missed an extra point, and they lost in overtime. Like, damn, that's crazy. So Purdy, frankly, did his job. And the year before, 2 years before the Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl, honestly, I think the Niners would have won that NFC Championship game versus the Eagles.
Yeah,
but Brock Purdy hurt his elbow, and he ended up getting, I think, Tommy John. But the Niners just ran out of quarterback. So they're just snake bit, and they lost 2 NFC Championship games. Like, Purdy has been unbelievable for the Niners. And obviously, the irony was it just broke our brains, I think, because it was the idea of, well, how good is he? He's driving the car, but he didn't build it. How much credit do you get for driving a Bugatti really fast? But then as he went on, it was like, well, shit. All right, he's been doing this really well for a long time. And I think the truth is he's just gotten better every season. Like, I think Brock Purdy is clearly like getting better every year. And it started with, well, he's just creating out of structure more than Jimmy Garoppolo. And now it's like, frankly, Kyle Shanahan didn't really have a drop back passing game. And Brock Purdy actually did start to incorporate elements of that as all its flies started dropping last year. Debo's has pneumonia and Brandon Ayuk's done and McCaffrey's the Achilles. Like, I think Purdy started having more of a drop back passing game, and he's a real quarterback. And that's why they give him $260 million. But, before the irony was people wanted him to be MVP. And Brock Purdy was not the MVP. But he was the most valuable player because he was playing quarterback for $800,000, right, which there are software engineers in San Francisco making more than $800,000. Like, he's the quarterback for the Niners, and he's like, you know what I mean? So now it's just, can the Niners win a Super Bowl now with Brock Purdy? Because anything less is a failure. Like, anything less than a Super Bowl win for the Niners will kill Kyle Shanahan. But can they win? Can they achieve more?
Is a failure? I don't know about that.
I mean, come on. 2 NFC championship
Super
games
Bowl
losses. It is Super Bowl or bust. Like, you're going to leave this era without a Super Bowl. Like, it's not fair, but that's clearly the expectation. But now you have to do more than ever with
their window, and now it's like, if they're good, that's still good.
It sucks. Well, I'm not saying they suck if they make it. It's just
right.
It's I don't think Kyle Shanahan's going to be super thrilled by losing another Super Bowl.
Well, sure. Obviously,
you don't think so?
Like, do you disagree?
I just think with anything, I bristle at anything less than a Super Bowl win is failure. I bristle at that idea.
I guess it won't be put on Brock Purdy. That's fair. It's not like people are going to blame Brock Purdy for not winning the Super Bowl.
Like, if they're competitive, that's
I don't know. I think there are teams where I think like the Lions are kind of like
the Ravens, the Bills.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable actually for like a handful of fan bases.
I just don't like that. I just think it's weird. One team wins every year. It's like,
yeah, it sucks.
Every other team is a failure.
It's deeply unfair. Yeah,
I don't know. I think it's dumb.
It's life. Well, what about it? What about it? I don't know. That's how it is.
Okay.
Brock is
first.
Every time I watch him, he is like shockingly competent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
he's a sneaky little shit.
He is. Like, I kind of want to just
That's how I feel about him.
The whole he's just plugged into the Shanahan machine. And then you watch him and you're like, I don't know, this guy's actually like pretty good. And things break down. He's like way more athletic than you think he is, way more agile than you think he is. He's like faster than you think he is. And I just like, I don't know. Well, he's small,
deceptive almost.
Yeah. But I don't know, like whenever stuff breaks down or he just makes throws, if he was like the 10th pick in the draft, we would just think about him completely differently.
If he had been taken where Lawrence was, we'd flip the fuck out.
Totally.
We'd be like, oh my God, they lead an EPA per play.
It's funny because like he's bigger and more athletic than Bryce Young, who was the first overall pick.
And what's also funny is, remember, we got an email from people working at Lululemon, and they were like, they waited on him for an hour. And
he didn't look like a pro athlete.
And one of their boyfriends was like, he's in the NFL. They're like, he's a football player? Or do you have the
that guy?
Also, we thought, he was the last pick in the draft, which I thought was the 256th pick. So we thought his number was 13 because he added up 2, 5, and 6, which was incorrect. However, his contract he signed was for $265 million, which if you add that up, 265.
Oh,
13.
wow.
Interesting.
A lot's coming around to 13. Wow. He knew he wanted to sign a 250.
I actually didn't put that together. His contract was 265. They did it for Mr. Irrelevant.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of dumb.
Is not when he was picked. He was 272, right?
262. So we keep getting this wrong. 262.
I was going to say, they probably came up with the numbers based on other quarterbacks' salaries.
Still adds up.
Not the numbers.
It adds up to 13.
It's like the worst.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Okay,
anyway,
wait.
This guy's a sneaky little shit. He just makes plays, man.
He's fucking good.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Okay, so now with these guys, we have 1, 2, 3. We talked about 8 guys today, 7 guys. I asked you this question halfway through. Now looking at all 7: Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy. Which of these guys, if you had to bet right now, will finish the highest in fantasy?
Man,
Justin
Fields, just because the running. I think I'd feel most confident. I would feel most confident. Shit. This is actually really hard.
I think it's Fields because
I gravitate towards Lawrence or Love.
What is it? You got to pick one. You just said 3 names.
I think Justin Fields easily.
Or is it Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson or CJ Stroud? Or
I think
Purdy?
It's Brock Purdy.
It's probably Purdy.
Who's like quarterback 8 every year.
Right. He's been in the top 10 the last 2 years, right?
Last year was a disaster, and he was probably the QB Purdy. 10. Talk about like a guy that you could just draft and nobody will really care because like that like excitement has kind of come and gone. And he'll probably just be extremely solid. Maybe the ceiling, I guess, isn't there. But
I mean, Justin Fields started the 6 games and he had 5 rushing touchdowns in the 6 games.
I think I'm sticking with Brock Purdy.
All right, that's fair.
But Fields has more ceiling.
Okay.
Brock Purdy was QB 7 in 2023.
I think those are the right 2 answers because Stroud, I think, was better in real life, and if the Texans defense holds, then they're probably not. They want to probably run more, and then Bryce Young, we're not going to answer with that. And then Trevor Lawrence. Now that Shane, Are We Live, Waldron's in Jacksonville, we're out. So I think it's kind of answered. It's
made a huge mistake.
Okay.
I really liked playing the like quarterback we give the least shit about game. That was really fun.
We should make that a whole thing, honestly.
Who is your favorite quarterback that's not a part of your favorite team? Like, who do you like rooting for the most?
That's a good one.
Give me one that's like elite and one that's not elite.
Give me one of them big
the easy
ones.
answer is like Josh Allen or Lamar, but I think if you ban Mahomes, I think Mahomes, Burrow.
But I'm not
Lamar
saying you enjoy watching because they're so good. I'm saying that you actively root for and like love.
For me, it's either Lamar. It's either
you can
Lamar
include them.
Or
I just
Allen.
pick. You can pick one quarterback who's elite and then one who's not elite. But I want more like you like them. You've taken interest in them, not just like you think they're the best.
I have really thoroughly loved like every moment of Lamar's career, basically. Mm-hmm. And he had a weird stretch after the injury and the contract extension. But like seeing Lamar Jackson's rise, like that week, like in 2018, the week where Lamar was just destroying maybe it was 2019. They were just 2019 definitely. He was destroying everybody. And then somebody made an anonymous comment that, well, the read option with Lamar is cheating because the football is the same color as his skin. So like it's easier for him. And then Lamar comes out Monday night. I believe it was Monday
did he wear
football.
Like white gloves or something?
He wore white sleeves. So white sleeves. And they had, I think, probably the most dominant 40 minutes to start a football game I've ever seen. And remember, the Rams had made the Super Bowl the previous year. And I believe the Ravens come out and scored a touchdown on the first 6 possessions. And they started the game 35-0.
Yeah.
And it was just epic. And I don't know. And also he's just so different than all these other quarterbacks. Like Lamar, like his mom's his fucking agent. Like he clearly is just friends with the same friends from like middle school. Like he doesn't do famous people shit. Lamar is like truly like lovable to me.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say either Lamar. I would probably say Lamar. Like in my heart of hearts, I just love watching him play. But then I think Burrow's also really likable.
The trio is unbelievable because Josh Allen, obviously everyone hated, well, not everyone hated, but everyone thought he sucked. And then the Bills and everything, like the bond there is Josh Allen's so easy to love. And then, I think Burrow is like the easiest person to like watching because of LSU and the cigars and just
the way he plays is fun. Like he's just a gunslinger kind of deal where he's frankly, just like pushing it downfield.
Burrow had this myth making too, because ever since he came out with that, the LSU hype video team was unbelievable.
So
and when he came out with the Burrow, the EAUX senior day, in that crazy video at LSU, and then the Heisman speech was amazing. Yeah. Like Burrow out of college had like a myth that frankly a lot of these guys don't have. Yeah. And then he sucked rookie year and towards ACL, but then he was great and they made the Super Bowl and got like all Burrow, Josh, and Lamar are like unusually likable, easy to root for players.
I think Jaden's really cool too. Like after 1 year, I'm very invested in Jaden. Now I want quarterbacks who are kind of mid that you're like, he's my guy.
Well, does CJ Stroud count?
No.
CJ Stroud, I'd say, is like he's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch.
I feel like everybody loves watching Jameis.
Mid?
Who's mid? I
actually want Michael Penix to succeed. I think that's a pretty off the radar. Like, I would like Michael Penix to just be awesome. Like, I think it'd be really cool if the Falcons' offense was actually incredible and Penix was just balling.
Yeah, I want Penix and Bonix. Those are my 2.
Bonix and Penix.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for Fields, even though I don't feel great about that.
You've always liked him. DK.
I've always liked him. I don't know why.
Fields, the jetsiest jet in the history of the Jets.
I mean, it's not going to go well, but I'll be rooting for him.
There's this really nice story in Pittsburgh. This guy who, has been really written off by the haters and losers and doubters that,
You're right.
Well, he's been canceled so many times.
Mason
Love to
Rudolph?
just see him stick a microphone. Yeah. No, take the microphones away from Mason
Duck
Rudolph.
Hodges?
Mason Rudolph's never getting a microphone in front of him again. Okay. Well, on that note, we should get the fuck out of here. Over both your heads. Okay. I'm sure people listening got it.
No, talking about Mason Rudolph?
No, I think you got it. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
All right. Well, emails and we'll get out of here.
Are we talking about the Myles Garrett thing or the Trump thing?
Allegedly.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot about the Trump thing. Yeah, no, allegedly.
Talking about the Myles Garrett thing. Yeah.
Allegedly. The couple emails here.
I love that transition.
This is from Joe.
Joey.
Joe says he's emailed, but I was talking about like wasting time in class. I never told the story because DK was like, "Oh my God, your class was next to the other class,"
right.
But I never told the story. But anyway, Joe's is better.
Okay.
So Joe says, I had this pretty epic way to waste time in college. Joe says, the summer after my freshman year in college, I worked for the IT department of my college, doing cleaning, maintenance, all the computer labs, blah, blah, blah. Part of the job meant I had to have admin rights to control any computer on campus. And guess what? They forgot to take away his admin rights to every computer on campus. So the admin rights included the ability to remotely control the professor's computers and the projectors in the classrooms.
Oh my.
So during classes, I would turn off the projectors or their computers in the middle of class.
With great power.
No, I was thinking the exact same
unbelievable.
Thing. Like, you could have done a lot worse than turn the projector off.
Dude, I know. Yeah, it could have ended careers. Another side, you're basically God. Like, that's basically like a cheat game of Grand Theft Auto. And he's like,
this guy, yeah. That's the worst he did?
Honestly, I wonder if he did worse. He didn't want to put it in writing.
Well, that's probably.
I would have just pulled up really stupid shit. Like, nothing problematic. I just would have been like.
You could have like porn on their computers. Honestly, you could probably have changed his grades. Probably could have gave himself a 4.0. But another side note,
I would have just only played like Tavon Austin highlights or something.
Yeah, just Tavon Austin highlights.
Low stake.
I think that'd be really good.
So Joe writes, another side note, the admin rights allowed me to edit how many printing credits each student got. I think each semester we had like 500 printer credits. One for black and white pages equaled like 1 credit. One color page was like 3 credits, blah, blah, blah. And then there was like a few number of credits for 3D printing. And he says I would pick one random student's ID and I'd give them 1 million credits.
They become like the godfather of printing. Everyone like is like going through them. He starts like an entire printing like mob.
Yeah, and then I also screw with my friends and I would take all their credits to 0 right before finals and freak them out. I want people to email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you had admin control, if you could control everyone's computers in college, what would you do?
Power.
If you had, you're basically God.
What would you do?
Westworld. Like God. I think this is insane that he could just control every computer on campus. That's actually wild.
Oh,
if anyone has ever heard any other stories, this like IT people gone rogue, like there's all this whole thing of IT people like, oh, I've seen your passwords. I'll take those stories too. But stories from IT people are also just like the unchecked power of IT people and how little we know about the power you actually have. Email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com.
You got to be careful though, because he couldn't go too hard because if people started to sniff around, maybe they would figure it out.
They might have like, you actually
the
could
statute of limitations on wire fraud. What is that?
Well, they probably would have actually expelled him for that. Like if you're like remotely controlling your computer's teacher, your teacher's computer from class, you're probably like not suspended. You're probably done.
Right.
Printing credits, wire fraud.
Dude, printer mob is so fun. Dude, imagine that kid checking thing and it's like,
he's just like the fucking
They're gonna make an example
of printer
of him.
credits.
Yeah.
Someone's like, please, I need 100 more credits. He's like petting his cat. He's like,
This sounds like the plot
rainforest.
to Slackers. Did you guys ever watch Slackers?
No.
I don't know what that is.
Good movie. So it's like
Slacker, right?
What? No,
is it Slacker, no S?
Slackers.
Slackers. There's a movie called Slacker with that was like a real indie
dude. Slackers, 1990. Slackers had Devin Sawa, Jason Schwartzman. Jason Schwartzman's character in that movie is really something. Cool, Ethan. Anyway, the plot is basically like these guys all like have this scheme to like cheat their way through college.
What is the scheme?
They cheat their way through college.
How?
Yeah,
I don't remember the exact details. I don't know. Watch the fucking movie.
Okay, jeez.
Fucking A.
It was in 1990. I haven't watched it.
So I asked the question.
You should, if you want a real good movie of how to cheat your way through college, Accepted.
Great
film.
That's one of Craig's sneaky deep cut favorite movies.
Craig, that is the awesome spiritual follow up to this movie, I think.
South Harmon Institute of Technology.
Yeah.
Shitheads.
Craig loves that one.
Oh yeah, so Austin points out that cool Ethan blackmails the guys once he finds out that they're cheating their way through college, and convinces them to get a girl to like him, basically, and then the main character falls in love with that girl, of course.
They just spoiled it.
The story is old as time. It's actually really good.
All right, geez, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Should have one more email here.
Jason Segel's in that. I forgot about that. Jamie King is the love interest.
It made $6 million.
Is that good? I don't know.
No.
Budget 14, box office 6. Oh, God.
Cult classic.
It's a good movie, all right?
That's a Kenny Pickett number right there.
It's directed by somebody named Dewey Nix, who does not have a strong Wikipedia page.
Well, that's what losing $8 million will do for you. Anyway, what were we talking about?
I had another email, but Craig's pretty deep on this Dewey Nix.
I think he's a professional photographer, this guy. I don't know.
He doesn't have a strong filmography.
He made a movie? I can't really follow this conversation. What movie did he make?
Slackers. I don't know. He has an interesting photography life that we don't need to get into.
Okay. Dewey, if you're listening to the show, just hit us up. Tell us about Slackers.
Dewey. Not a lot of Deweys anymore.
No. Dewey's like Gertrude. Dewey just.
You don't want any of this shit, Dewey.
No. I think I kind of want it.
It's the cheapest drug there is. It makes sex even better.
Is that an episode we should do in August? You don't want none of this, Jameson Williams.
Well, who was the player we used that for at the live show?
Probably Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, who did we use that for?
Was it?
I could find it.
It was for the draft. It was fuck, who was it?
Ashton. Was it Genty?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Kind of want it. It was for the Raiders drafting Genty, I think.
You don't want none of this running backs in the first round.
He's the cheapest position there is. That's one of the all-time scenes, I think. I put that up there.
Tim Meadows, GOAT. Sneaky
all right,
goat.
Just this once. We're smoking reefer.
We should bring reefer back unironically.
Reefer.
Reefer is such a funny word.
What's your favorite way to say weed?
I say weed. To the point where I forget that it's a nickname.
I think
the devil's lettuce?
Weed's the bass in my head.
I think my dad says pot.
I think that's funny. I think pot is funny. Pot's like your parents say pot.
Spoken like a cop, Craig.
Yeah. Pot. Fucking narc.
They're smoking pot here.
He smoked his fair share of pot in college.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Allegedly.
Yeah, prove it, Craig.
Yeah.
All right.
He was in San Diego in the 80s. Come on.
I think if I'm walking around and I smell it, I'm like, ooh, the devil's lettuce.
Really?
Or something like that.
That's
what are the other things to call it?
Ganja.
M-bone.
The chronic. The chronic is a word that my generation used a lot more, I feel
really?
like.
You guys would say that?
It's like chronic, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like we just said weed.
Weed.
Yeah.
Pot
DK,
is,
I feel like you guys
a boomer.
DK, I feel like you guys said Mary Jane.
Yeah,
No.
Mary Jane's very
I
80s.
never said Mary Jane.
You know what? So we should make this of just like what is the actual
Kush is
chronology of calling these things? Yeah, Kush and tree.
Tree. People used to say tree.
Yeah, Kush
like
and
kind
tree.
of tongue in
Tree.
cheek, but people said tree.
Yeah, I think Kush and tree took over from weed.
I feel like Mary Jane is archaic. That's from like the 60s.
Oh, is it? There are certain
it's
things
like,
that
like
I know
the beginning of Pineapple Express.
Oh yeah, because there are things that are before my time. I don't know when.
Where did the phrase Mary Jane come from?
Probably Spider-Man.
MJ, marijuana.
Oh,
but like why Mary and just somebody?
I don't know. Euphemism.
I actually kind of forgot marijuana had a J.
Yeah, I didn't really think of that.
I'd have never put that together.
I think that's why it is.
I mean, it makes sense. That's a good. Yeah, that makes a great answer.
We're smoking Mary Jane in here. Come on in.
Bill Hader at the start of Pineapple is so funny.
Another all-time scene. And then they kill him.
Is it in black and white?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, let's go watch that again.
Check out that Rewatchables.
Yeah, we did the
that
Rewatchables
like 3 years ago.
Yeah. Pineapple Express Rewatchables.
I just killed you with a Daewoo. What does it say? You just got killed by a Daewoo, motherfucker.
It's a Daewoo. It's something. It's a
Daewoo Lanos.
Yeah, Daewoo
Lanos. Great spot. Great scene. Linger.
My favorite thing of the whole thing is just Danny McBride going, don't.
Oh, man. I would love to just, there should be a Rewatchables month. It's just dedicated to Danny McBride being like the 5th biggest character in the movie and crushing it. Tropic Thunder, Pineapple Express. This is the end. Hot Rod, he's great in.
Oh, yeah.
I think Danny McBride in
drinking green tea all day.
He actually might be my favorite character minute for minute in any movie ever. Is Danny McBride.
Pound for pound, he's the funniest, I think.
I used to use this when I was a prostitute.
You know what movie I just never saw? And I don't know why. Like, it came out right when I would have seen movies like this. Your Highness.
Oh my God, Craig.
I've never seen it.
I heard it was, it's terrible, right?
Fucking awful, but it's also very funny.
I've never seen it.
Dude, we got to watch that.
It's like about medieval times, but they're all potheads, right?
It's the weirdest movie you've ever seen, Craig. There's one character in it. It's like I don't even remember exactly what the context is. It's like a little genie or magical creature. Okay. It's a fucking weird movie, man.
James Franco, Danny McBride, Natalie Portman, and Zooey Deschanel.
Yeah, it's basically like medieval times comedy, and they're all potheads, right?
That's incredible.
That's the gist of it.
And
Damian Lewis is in this. Charles Dance.
Green.
Justin. Oh my God, there's a lot of people in
What
this
was
movie.
the budget for Your Highness? I feel like it was like
higher than you want it to be.
Kind of a big movie.
Well, and it was David Gordon
50
Green.
million? Is that a lot? I don't know.
That is a lot for a comedy.
It's not good that the literal target demo, has never heard of this movie.
This movie was written by McBride, directed by David Gordon Green, who did Pineapple Express.
I thought it's one of those movies where if you're watching with the right person, it's very funny. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
but if you're
talked about this is
if you're high as shit,
yeah,
or drunk, yeah.
27% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's really bad, but also
what was the Roger Ebert review?
Funny.
He reviewed it. This is I think he was barely alive at this point. When did Roger Ebert die? This was 2 years before he died.
Did he actually review it? I was not serious. Oh
Roger Ebert gave the film 1 star out of 4, calling it. This is a word I haven't read in a long time, or perhaps never read. Juvenile excrescence? Excrescence?
Like excrement.
Yeah.
Juvenile shit.
Juvenile excrescence that feels like the work of 11-year-old boys in love with Dungeons, Dragons, warrior women, pot, boobs, and 4-letter words.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. We gotta watch this.
Where do I sign?
Natalie Portman was in it.
It's unbelievable.
Which is just so like out of place.
All right, we'll put it on the list.
I maintain it has funny moments.
DK, can you power rank Dungeons, Dragons, warrior women, pot, boobs, and 4-letter words?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your big 3?
Boobs.
Okay. Good for you.
4-letter words. What were the other ones? Dungeons and Dragons. Those are
Dungeons.
Dragons is last.
Dungeons and Dragons are separate. Warrior women, pot.
Yeah, I would go boobs, 4-letter words, warrior women. A good old
I would slip that, but that's fine.
Xena the Warrior Princess. Okay. Remember that?
Nope.
And then pot. I'm not a big pot guy.
Yeah.
To be honest. Although I understand its draw for sure.
Right.
Music is very good.
Well, because can you get
music is on this list?
No.
No, I'm saying pot makes music sound great.
You understand the draw.
It's very
pot.
true.
Can you? Well, DK, can you get a hangover from pot?
It doesn't give you a hangover.
Well, I don't want to
be spending all kinds of money on it. It's not habit forming.
Can I still have sex?
It makes sex better. Yeah, shit. I should put pot higher, probably, huh?
James Franco received a Razzie nomination for Your Highness, but lost to Al Pacino in Jack and Jill.
Is that a Sandler movie?
Yeah,
what
man.
is Jack and Jill?
Dude, Jack and Jill, brutal. Dude,
brutal.
We were just
Craig, when you turn brutal into like a 3-syllable word, you know it's bad.
Dude, we were greenlighting anything in 2011. Like you could just fucking throw anything at the theater. Jack and Jill made $150 million.
What? In profit? Hell?
Well, no. The film cost $80 to make, so it probably lost money if you include marketing, but still, $150 million is not nothing.
No. Jack and Jill. What was that even about?
Honestly, you don't want to know.
It doesn't matter.
It was with Katie Holmes, Al Pacino, and Adam Sandler.
Katie Holmes?
The way you said that was like Tropic Thunder when the rapper's name is Al Pacino.
Yeah. It's Jack and Jill. A family man is forced to deal with his twin sister when his twin sister from the Bronx comes in.
But Adam Sandler plays his twin sister.
It's kind of like Sinners, but
lowbrow.
Yeah. Heifetz was shocked when he found out that Adam Sandler played both characters.
It blew his mind.
Oh
my God.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Wait, we never said thank you.
And we never did Lauren.
Really? That whole thing was...
That was the preamble.
No way. Thank you, Lauren. Oh, my God.
Thank you, Jewel.
Wait, that was all before we did
that was music? All pre-Lauren.
I don't even know if we finished what we were talking about, to be honest. I don't remember what we were talking about.
I don't know shit about Jewel.
Yeah, I don't really either.
Jewel?
I think she was she the one that she went from homeless to like superstardom? She like wrote some songs when she was like living in a van or something.
Google Gemini says, yes, the singer Jewel experienced homelessness.
Oh, there we go.
I don't like the world we're in now. That's a weird thing I just did. I don't like that sentence.
What sentence?
The Google Gemini says Jewel, the singer, was homeless.
Right,
like that's just something about that's off.
She dated somebody back in the day that was like really famous.
Oh, here's the hat, right?
Jewel, wait.
She's a hat person.
She dated Charlie Whitehurst?
She's currently dating Kevin Costner?
What?
This is Google Gemini. Hold on.
I want to know.
You're right, Craig. Kevin Costner.
What?
Get the fuck out.
I think Kevin Costner.
My Google Gemini says Kevin Costner and Jewel are friends and they have never dated. What does your Google Gemini say?
Wait, she dated Sean Penn.
He just got divorced, I'm pretty sure.
What does your Google Gemini say? Mine says they've never dated. They're just friends.
I'm pretty sure Kevin Costner just got divorced. Was it because of Jewel?
What I'm seeing on Us Magazine is in 2023, so this is a while ago, they were spotted getting cozy during a Caribbean getaway. So,
Heifetz, if I Google Jewel, Kevin Costner, it says they're just friends. But if I Google Jewel boyfriend, it says Jewel and Kevin Costner are in a relationship.
Can you screenshot that? What the fuck? Again, why is Google worth $2 trillion?
I can't. You guys missed the part. Did you guys miss the part where she dated Charlie Whitehurst?
Yeah, that's so. What a glow up for her.
What the fuck?
Jewel and Kevin Costner relationship, and mine says,
"Dude,
they are friends and have never dated." Honestly, I almost feel is anyone making a movie about an AI just frantically trying to get answers on the internet and being like, I have like 1 second, please help, and they can't.
It's just one guy.
It's just one guy in a room.
Just Wizard of Oz, but for AI, honestly.
How old is Kevin Costner?
He's probably almost 70.
Was that movie he made any good? I never watched it. The one he spent he quit the what's the Gold Rush? The biggest show in America. Gold Valley.
No.
Yellowstone.
No. You're thinking of Yellowstone, but the movie he made was, God, why am I blanking?
He quit Yellowstone to make the movie. Horizon. Did anyone see that? I never heard a word about that, including from my father.
I never watched it. He made a second one that nobody has purchased and will not release, and he had plans to make a third and fourth, which is definitely not happening.
That's sad.
Yeah, I believe 2 of them were purchased, were acquired, and then the first one went so poorly, they were like, yeah, we're not releasing the second one.
Wow.
He started drinking coffee 12 years ago. Still time for you, Craig.
I drink matcha now.
Your ceremonial grade matcha?
I made one this morning, my own.
Nice.
I'm very good.
Can I ask a question? What is the matcha that you make taste like? Is it just like grassy, earthy? Why? What is? I'll put matcha in my shake, but you can't put too much or else it tastes like shit.
Yeah, I would say it's very earthy. Some people would say grassy, earthy, nutty.
Some people would
earthy
say
is what people
grassy.
say when it tastes really weird, and they don't want to say that.
Oh, that's the other thing
earthy.
that weed is called, by the way, grass.
That's dated.
Did we say that?
If someone said that my age, unironically, that would be like the Inglourious Bastards, like Three Fingers. I'd be like, you're
high as a fucking kite right
AI.
now.
Yeah, earthy, umami.
Those
okay.
Does matcha have umami?
Yeah, matcha. Umami kind of flavors.
Is it in the umami umbrella?
And then I don't know, like fucking black coffee doesn't taste great.
Fair.
No, that's what the milk and sugar for. I do black coffee.
Neither does tea, if we're being honest. It's all a fucking acquired taste.
I don't put a ton of sweetener in matcha. I like the flavor of it.
I've gotten used to it a little bit more. The first time I tried it, I was like, what the hell is this?
I think most things that taste bad in the beginning end up being your favorite things to consume. Like beer doesn't taste that good on its surface.
Yeah.
Like beer is kind of objectively not a good flavor.
The first time I had beer, I was like, this is
acquired tastes are the best
nasty
taste
stuff.
Acquired tastes are the best
nasty
taste.
business.
Yeah, how long did you hate waking up early? What's like actually the best thing ever is waking up early.
100%.
Going to bed early.
Well, I disagree with that.
Well, that's because you haven't acquired it yet.
I like staying up late and waking up early, which is hard.
Yeah,
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Harder on the old body. Yeah.
Because I love mornings. Like, man, if you go on a walk at like 7:30 and it's like sunny, it's like the greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah.
But then also I love just like staying up till midnight and fucking around.
Right.
So it's hard.
It's a vicious cycle, Craig. There's apparently a gene that they found recently that there's a very small percentage of people who only need like 5 hours of sleep. And I'm wondering if I'm one of them because I feel like I only get about 5, 6 a night ever.
And magically, everybody who has a kid develops that gene.
Right. No, a lot of people just go crazy and have terrible health because they're not sleeping enough.
Not you. You're a specimen.
I'm in my prime.
You showed up this season looking like Marvin Harrison.
Fuck yeah. just guns.
It'd be really funny if one of us just
gets big.
To the max from It's Always Sunny.
Huge. Yeah.
Just showed up ripped. Who's it going to be?
God, this has been an all-time rant.
Do you think if Bill was like, hey, you guys can do another Rewatchables, what do you want to do? And I was like, Your Highness. do you think you would approve it or no?
Only one way to find out, Craig.
I mean, we've done some questionable films. We did a movie called Someone to Watch Over Me 2 months ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that was is that Ridley Scott? Who is that?
It is Ridley Scott.
Yeah, okay. At least it's like the legitimate director.
I think you'd be removed from the Rewatchables.
Well, David Gordon Green is a legitimate director. How dare you?
Yeah, well.
Who was the guy that directed
Who says no?
What was the other movie we were talking about? Slackers. That guy had no credits.
No, Dewey Wicks? No, Dewey Nicks.
Dewey Nicks. Goodbye, everyone.